Thank you for letting us know the recording is in progress. So hello, Peter and Tim.
Hello.
I'm a little disappointed that neither of you are wearing clown makeup.
I didn't get the memo.
You did get the memo.
Yeah, we did talk about it.
Like we had this conversation.
That's right. That's right. I'm sorry.
I did leave off the collar and whatnot, but anyway. So I'm super happy to talk to both of you like you have no idea. I had anxiety all day. I don't think related to this. Maybe it was, I don't know. But anyway, here we are.
I don't
Oh,
know
hello.
what you'd have to be anxious about, honestly.
I don't really need a reason. It just happens to me. So I don't like to do anything or go anywhere, frankly.
Well, that's what's great about the whole COVID thing. I got to sort of dive into my hermit like tendencies without any regret. No one questioned beyond it. No.
Nothing really changed here for the most part.
Yeah, it became very easy to not do anything. As far as, well,
Yeah.
I never stopped doing stuff, but as far as like, going out and seeing people and stuff, it's like, well, I can't because
Right.
COVID.
Right. And it's like it's a legit excuse. Because people don't usually buy that you just have anxiety and can't leave the house. They're just like, whatever, you're just blowing me off.
No, just take a pill, eat a banana, and come on. We'll make it for last call. That's what they think.
I don't know. So, yay! I'm so happy to see you guys. So Peter has some creepy stories
I do.
I'm going to talk about. So you were mentioning the town that you grew up in, and I know that you had some stories that start way back when you were little.
Born, pretty much, yeah.
Born. Okay.
Not my literal birth, because if I could remember that, I would have some abilities that most people do not.
You don't remember yours?
No.
Oh, also Tim, he's also a musician. Just so I mean, everybody is that we know pretty much, but he's also a musician, and I'm curious if you guys sort of know each other in any of the bands that you were in, because he also, I'm like pointing at you guys, like you know who I'm pointing at. Timothy also used to like listen to hardcore music and stuff, so he may know some of either your bands or people that you're related to somehow.
Well, I mean, I started playing in '89 in hardcore bands, most of which were, regional at best, but Self-Determination, that was '89 through '91. And then I did a bunch of other bands that went nowhere. And then I started playing in grindcore bands. Feculence, we toured with Acid Bath, we toured with Cannibal Corpse. Did that until about 97, 98. Then Dystalysis, we went on tour with At the Drive-In. Did that for 2 years. Not with At the Drive-In, but as a band.
A long tour.
Yeah, that was one hell of a tour. And then people started dying within the ranks of the band. So that sort of put that to an end. And then I took time to raise children. And now I'm in my current band. So Hard Out, it's the most plain, normal band I've ever been in. It's just straight up punk rock. But with the exception thereof, everything else I'd done was metal influenced or prog rock influenced. There was always some bent.
Well, some of the names sound familiar, but I can't say that I ever saw them live, because sometime around 92 or 93, I say my ears gave out. I listened to like the most extreme like noise and grindcore and stuff, and then my ears went and for some reason I like started getting into acoustic music, and I was like this hard turn where I was just like, I'm done. And I still like it. I still like heavy music, but it was just like my sort of consuming passion for it. Or maybe my taste just expanded. I don't know. I still like everything I used to like, on down to when I was a kid, but
Right.
I guess I expanded my horizons.
I think a lot of people within the confines of punk specifically end up going acoustic because it's all folk music
Mm-hmm.
at its core. I mean, Ian Mackay
Yeah.
said that as well. And you see a lot of people who are in like straight edge hardcore bands and stuff. They're playing like Americana and
Mm-hmm.
country-esque music now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have our things, you know.
Yeah.
It all makes sense together to me. I mean, but to me, Lycia and Gorilla Biscuits make sense together because I like it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Except
All
now
right.
with Lycia. Ew.
Yeah.
No, don't even look at these records that are like signed by
I know,
those
look at
people
that.
in that band.
Sweet. Cool. So I guess that was introduction to you two. But okay, so let's talk about creepy stuff.
Let's talk about creepy stuff. Where shall we begin? You're the host.
What is this? Goddamn Strange Familiars?
I
This
know,
is-
right?
This is Strange Familiars-esque.
Strange Familiars if nobody knew what they were doing. So you said to me that you had your first memory as a child. So I guess just start there.
Okay, great. I would imagine around 3. And it's a vivid memory. It's my only vivid memory. I have spotty memories of like watching Benny Hill and Monty Python when I was very small. I remember seeing Jimmy Carter on TV, like, but just hazy snippets.
Right.
The most vivid memory I have of being very small, we lived in a tiny coal mining home. It had 2 bedrooms that were adjoined, no door in between. And I was laying in my parents' bed. My siblings were infants at this point, and they were having a party downstairs with my godfather, his wife, a few other people who I wouldn't even know who they were. But I was laying sleepless, staring dead ahead of myself. Now, the staircase that went up to this room was semi-spiral, so you could sort of see the tines on the handrail. You could see the shadows of them, but they were very, very dim shadows. They were translucent. You can see right through them. And I'd seen people passing back and forth, same style shadow. And at one point, a shadow ascended the stairs and was on the wall directly in the beam of light that was being cast from the downstairs. Now, this shadow became darker and darker and darker. I began to try to scream or signal someone to the fact that this was not right. And I couldn't get it past my trachea. It was as if someone was pulling, you know. And it became so inky black. It was a void in and of itself, and it looked like a hooded figure, and its hand came out like this and started to swing back and forth more quickly and more pendulously, just like that. And at that point, I broke and I screamed, and the lights came on and it was gone. And I don't remember anything else for approximately 2 years.
That's
So the lights came on. Someone turned the lights on, or the lights came.
My mother turned the lights on. She heard me finally scream, and she came a running.
Just checking to make sure the lights didn't mysteriously come on by themselves.
No, things like that did occur in that house, but that was the least of it in that particular on that particular property. I lived in 2 homes on that property, and things never changed in between homes. It just got worse.
Is this the same city that you grew up,
Avoca.
Avoca. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's that same place.
It's literally 2 miles north of here.
So it's super close then.
Yeah. I moved away and came back. There's something about this void that I just keep getting drawn back to, no matter how far I get away.
That rubber band snaps hard.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't happen in Ohio, but anyway.
The dark black thing that comes up a lot with these shadow entities. People describe them blacker than the night around it, blacker than black, et cetera. So that
normally the really dark ones, though, Tim, they don't take human shape. From what I've read anyway, like shadow people, you see them and they're black, but the ones that are so inky black that they almost have a sheen, they always seem to take on like a squid-like form or something more mist related. From what I've read anyway, I'm not an expert by any stretch.
I've gotten the squid things too, and the like ink and water, but I'm just basing on, I haven't done any reading on shadow people. I'm just basing on witnesses that have come on my show and what they've told me.
Right.
That now, I've even had a Bigfoot witness from, he's in Texas now, but he was from out in Western Pennsylvania somewhere, who saw one, and he said its face was so black that it looked like it was imploding.
Jesus.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So do you think him going like this at you was like telling you to be quiet or warning you about
it? To me, I what I'd gleaned from it in my very, very young psyche was that it was saying,
like, don't scream.
Don't you dare scream.
Wow.
Do not alert them to my presence. And I had many, many more run-ins, if you can call them that, with this specific entity throughout probably the first 9 years of my life.
So was it the same person or whatever?
It wasn't a person.
Well,
it was the same thing. Yeah, it was the same. I liken it to a demon.
So you were a child when you first saw this. Was this compare it in height to your parents or the other adults in your life at the time?
Well, I couldn't really give it that. I know how tall that room is because that home is still in my family. Oh. And that ceiling is 6 feet 4 inches tall. It's a coal mining home. They're very short. So that was about as tall as he got.
Oh, wow.
When I'd seen him later in life, he was much, much taller.
Oh. Has anybody else had like weirdness like that in that house?
Every single member of my family.
Wow.
Including my great-grandfather.
Wow. That's creepy, dude.
Yeah.
So tell a little bit about this town, because probably maybe that factors into some of it.
I think it does. Avoca from well before the 1800s, but in the 1800s was called Pleasant Valley. And then a majority of the men that lived in that town that didn't work in the mines worked for the railroad. And there was a massive, massive railroad accident that killed upwards of 125 people. And at that point, they changed the name of the town from Pleasant Valley to Avoca. Avoca is an Irish name and an Irish town. That means Vale of Ghosts. Vale of Ghosts.
What the hell?
Or Vale of Tears, depending on which translation in Gaelic you'd like. But they mean the same thing in Gaelic.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. And when we talked before, when Mike and I were talking to you, you said that there was a lot of sort of creepy stuff, like people, like it's just like a known thing around there.
Yeah, it's pretty much accepted. And especially in the 80s, things became really, really intense in that area, the Scranton area, Avoca specifically. Starting with the child murders I told you about.
Yeah, let's talk. We talked a little bit about that whole satanic whatever cult.
The satanic panic thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was sort of similar in Northeast Ohio, where there was a lot of like supposedly a lot of cults, a lot of satanic, supposedly, you know, kids running around killing animals and like all this stuff. And I know that some of that did exist because I later met people that actually partook in that. But you know, I don't know how much of the cult stuff was like real versus just
Slayer.
wanting to, Slayer, and like wanting to be like teenagers wanting to drive around and creep themselves out. So you go to Crybaby Bridge, which every town has Crybaby Bridge, and you know, that kind of stuff. But like in Northeast Ohio, like I mean, there's a show about it called Helltown or something. Boston Heights is like not far from where I grew up. And, you know, we used to always go drive over there. Like all friends would pile into the car and like you'd go. And I mean, it never failed that at some point, some car would drive you out of there. Like all of a sudden there's a car behind you and kind of guiding you the hell out.
Right.
You know? So, but again, I don't know how much of this is true versus kids wanting to be scared about stuff and whatever, but you mentioned that you had some of that. And Tim, I don't know if any of that kind of stuff was going on around where you grew up also with like cults and, you know, kids killing cats and like whatever.
Be the cult. That was always my theory. Don't let anybody out cult you. You know, there were rumors of it for sure. I was always, because I was at the time involved in like I said, like before we started recording, like more extreme music and stuff. I was always kind of aware that there was a problem with the satanic panic thing, and never believed half of the people, or probably more than half, most of the people that came forward and claimed that, you know, you'd see these guys with like long black hair and like painted black nails that would come on these like Christian shows and be like, I was a Satanist and now I'm converted. And, you know, it's like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. I killed 9 babies myself. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. So I was always very suspicious of that. So I would hear stories about that. I remember there was this woods behind this one church in the town I was living in at the time. And a bunch of kids, like, you know, I'm out of high school, I'm in college at this point, and a bunch of like, you know, kids that were still in high school like came running up to me, like, there's Satanists in the woods back there and they're sacrificing stuff. First thing I did was go back in those woods. Like, I'm like, I need to look. I need to see
someone I know.
Yeah. And nothing in the woods, you know, there was nothing back there. I'm like, did you guys go look? I'm like, well, no. You know, it's like, where did you hear this? Well, somebody told me that their cousin said. Like, okay, let me go check this out. So I didn't see, you know, there were rumors of it, but I honestly didn't see any real evidence of it.
Yeah, and the only for fact thing that I knew is that I knew a kid who, you know, as an adult, a young adult, admitted that he was killing animals and stuff. You know, he was out of that at that point and had a lot of, obviously was, you know, regretful about all of it and whatever. But
well, I'm sure it happened, and I mean, anecdotally, I know people who said they, you know, killed a cat, or this person killed a cat or something like this, but you know, I never saw any hard evidence of it. I'm sure it does happen, but as far as these like great grand, you know, black masses and stuff that, you know, babies being killed and you know, naked women
in a barn somewhere. Like I remember in Boston Heights there was this supposed barn that's where they met, you know. And we of course always drove by it because why wouldn't we?
I was told, and this is somewhat recently, I was told a story about somewhere, I don't know if it was Berks County or outside of Philadelphia. This person said there's a there's a satanic church there. They call it the Red Church, and
Berks County.
And they said it was all Satanists go there, and I looked it up, and what it was is a Catholic church, and they're all a bunch of friggin' Protestants, and I had to tell them Catholics are not Satanists.
What the hell? You know what though? Like I feel like having grown up Protestant, technically, they kind of view Catholics like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very. Some of the stuff I remember hearing, you know, just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I mean, no one thought they were Satanists, but it was like they're very anti-Christian and blah. I'm like, whatever.
I was told I was going to hell quite often by the Pentecostals and the born-again Christians that I grew up near, because I was not only Catholic, but an altar boy.
That'll do it.
That will do it.
I don't understand the logic of that at all.
Some odd years later, Tara, I do join the Levian Church of Satan, so maybe there is some credence to it.
Well, we'll have to get there because I know you have a dark history.
Yeah.
So,
I never killed anything. I was always an animal rights activist, so I wasn't around killing animals or anything. But
good to hear. Yeah, I you know, obviously I'm fascinated by all this stuff, like creepy stuff, but also like the whole religious aspects of stuff, and I'm always interested in people's stories in regards to that kind of junk. So, and I mean, I don't have like a dark past at all, but it was dark enough that I knew to get away from it. You know what I mean?
right.
So, but I know that you have some interesting life stories to tell.
Well, and honestly, like I don't attribute it all to me. See, I was told a story when I was a child by my father that he was blown up in an airstrike in Vietnam. And he told me the story of when the day he died, he believes that he saw Christ in this swamp, and I believe the Mekong Delta. And he felt time slow down, and there were bullets whizzing past him, and he felt as though, like in the Matrix, he could just dodge them. And he saw a Christ-like figure walk toward him. And when he did, there was an airstrike, and he died momentarily and was brought back. I later came to find out that and my father is gone. God rest him. I love you, Dad. But I'm telling the truth. He was staying up on patrols for days on end and taking amphetamines to do so. So he overdosed on amphetamines, and that's what dropped him. And that's more than likely what he'd seen, or why he'd seen what he'd seen.
Okay.
But I won't take the religious aspect away from him, because he believed that fervently.
Sure.
So I can't disabuse his memory of that, because if he believes it, I'm with him. But it was
real to him, right?
It was real to him, but it was speed, not bombs.
Sure. Nevertheless, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, he was a neat guy. I wish he was here to tell you more about it, but
yeah.
That's a different charity. That's Speed Not Bombs. Than
not Food Not Bombs.
Yeah.
Just say no, dude. It worked so well.
Not me. I was of the just say yes bent.
I was always too afraid to do drugs, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of afraid of everything, which is why I'm super fascinated by everything, but I only go so close to it. You know what I mean? Like I always tell Tim that I get creeped out kind of talking about stuff because I'm afraid to call things to me.
Right.
And she won't take a walk in the woods with me.
Oh,
no.
wow.
Not doing it.
Because there are killers in the woods.
There's a killer on the road.
Killers in the woods.
That's what Tara always told me. I can't go with killers.
There's 100% killers in the woods.
Listen, there's 100% killers in the city. In the woods, you're pretty safe.
I know, but I have a house and like doors to lock in where I live. Like, what am I going to do in the woods? Or, you know, like that movie, The Strangers, where they're in that house and like those fucking freaks come, and that's my worst. I promise you that would happen to me. Like, I just set myself up for this. By the way.
That don't say shit like that.
I mean, that's like my worst fear. That's why I don't like, as much as I love the isolation of the country, I would be scared 24/7 if I lived out in the middle of nowhere. I'd have to have giant ass mean dogs, bombs set up in the yard, some, you know, everywhere. Anyway, yeah, killers. No, thank you. Like, I'm not scared of Bigfoot. It's the human beings that scare me, not so much.
1,000%. If I'm armed in the woods, it's because of people, not anything else.
That's the truth. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you know, I don't really want to run into like demons either, but I mean, I don't want to run into demons at all.
Yeah, but you can't shoot a 357 at a demon and have any sort of impact either. A human being.
I also feel like anything spiritual is not going to be as sick and twisted potentially as what a person would do to you. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's delusional. I don't know, but
I think that's relative to what you've experienced.
Sure.
I'll put it to you that way.
Right. Anyways, that was an odd tangent. Yeah, no, I'm not going in the woods. But plus there's hornets.
Yeah. Hornets. There are hornets.
And snakes and spiders that can kill you and all kinds of stuff out there.
I ran into hornets last night. That's what Tara's referencing.
Yeah.
I see.
On a night hike, and a true hornet, a European hornet, which is related to what people call the murder hornets. They're not quite as aggressive. They hunt day and night. So I'm hiking, I hear something buzz by my ear, and I was like, I knew what it was right away. And the guy I was with, I was like, I think that's a hornet, dude. He's like, no, it's a cicada killer. I said, cicada killers aren't out at night.
Nope.
And he goes, oh, it's a hornet. He had them crawling on him. He had 3 of them crawling on these big things.
What the hell is a cicada killer?
You never seen a cicada killer?
No.
Oh, they look wicked. They're like 2 inches long, maybe. They're a wasp, and they look like they could just kill you, but they're pretty passive. They only hunt cicadas. They don't, and their sting is like nothing.
Okay, so something else in the woods to avoid is what you're talking.
They literally won't bother you. They're
like a puppy dog. They're docile.
But European hornets, if you get close to their nest, they do get aggressive, and that's what I was afraid of at night, because they kept buzzing around. I was like, they're way too interested in us, that we must be somewhere near their nest.
Gross.
No one got stung though. We were okay.
That's good. That? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'd be safe, but still.
Just gotta keep your wits about you.
Whatever.
That's it. You keep your head on a swivel in the woods, and I grew up trouncing around the woods, Tara. I'm not dead yet, that I know of, anyway.
Well, so Mike went camping one time as a teenager, and his family used to go out into the desert in Arizona, or like up in the mountains or whatever. And his parents would like sleep in the Bronco, and him and his brother would sleep in a tent. And one night they were in this tent, and he woke up, like something jerked him really quickly, and he was pulled out of the tent in his sleeping bag, clear to his chest. So it's from here up was still in the tent, but he was still in his sleeping bag. So it wasn't like, normally if someone jerked your sleeping bag, your body would kind of come out of the sleeping bag. But his whole body was with the sleeping bag still. And he's like, I have no idea. There was no sound. Nobody heard it. His brother didn't hear anything. Like nobody woke up. He has no idea what the hell that was. And like, you couldn't like squirm your way, like in a dream, or, you're sleeping and you squirm your way out. Like, who knows what that was. Could it
that's
have been a bear or something? You know, could have been a bear, I guess. But
I don't know if a bear would have stopped.
No, it absolutely would not have stopped. It would
have made some kind of a noise, like he would have seen something around, you know. So that's it. And again, more reason why I don't go camping and not doing it.
It would be thrilling though.
That's the whole point, man.
Yeah. The stories you'd have to tell.
Yeah, I mean, true.
All this vicarious living is no good for you. You have to have a story of your own, man.
Imagine, Tara. Tim took me on a hike. It was dark. We got attacked by hornets. Then Bigfoot came.
Your mud on my hornet wounds. I don't know. Then Bigfoot came. Ew.
You had to go there.
I mean, it's me.
Perfectly innocent.
Go there.
I do not think of Bigfoot in that way.
Well, you're not reading the right erotica.
Apparently not.
You talking about how you're gay for Bigfoot?
And my son makes an appearance. And yes, I am. So.
I'm writing a fanfic about it right now. So yeah, that was fun. Okay, so back to Avoca.
Yeah, back to Avoca.
So in the 80s, you know, I guess spring forward to the next significant creepy time.
Okay. I mean, they were aplenty, especially in my home, but I think the major happening, I guess, would have been when we weren't allowed to go out during recess or anything like that, especially when I was in like first, second grade, because of specifically because of those child killings in Scranton. These two young boys, they were mutilated, and their bad things happened to them, like their genitals were put in their mouths. The human being who did this to them was really demented. I don't know if it was anything satanic specifically. It was definitely something vile beyond description, and we were sequestered from going outside, anything like that. And I was still living in the same home that I'd been living in the previous story, and I had still had the same, I guess you'd call it an imaginary friend. His name was Bart. And this was, my wife asked me before, are you sure it's not inspired by Bart Simpson? No, Bart Simpson didn't happen when I was a kid, babe. My wife's she's a lot younger than me. So, Bart, he resembled a Charlie McCarthy doll that was really washed out, like very, very pale with very red lips. And I recall vividly when all of this started happening that he would break things in the house. And of course, my parents would say it was me, and to this day my mother would say, no, you took your bionic Spider-Man and threw it through the bay window of the house. I have no recollection of that, nor does my late father. He just he remembered my standing in the doorway, which was about 12 feet from the window, and my Spider-Man toy careening through the window toward my mother, who was coming home from grocery shopping. My vivid memory is of Bart just smiling and taking it and launching it through the window and looking at me and going,
ew.
Now, whenever he would do something akin to that, he would appear to my sister Samantha, who was a lot younger than me as well, and she has memories of him doing the same thing to her that he would do to me when no one would be around. He would he had very long, spindly limbs, and he would kind of envelop me and like a baby.
Ew.
Rock me. And he'd smile at me and rock me, say nothing.
Ew.
Yeah. And
so was size-wise, what is the height of this person?
same home, so same height.
Okay.
Somewhere in the 6'3", 6'4".
This is like a full-grown person.
A very slender version of a full-grown person. Yes.
Ew.
I wonder how many kids have grown imaginary friends.
That's pretty weird.
It seems like most kids would have another. Like if they were going to make it up, they'd make up like another kid, right?
Yeah, I would think. But my imaginary friend was always not human and always very, very tall, considering every single member of my family, with the exception of myself, is my mom's 4'11", my dad was 5'4". So he was massive, comparatively speaking. And I remember, like, directly thereafter that night, it would have been 2 nights later, we had the cable, we had Prism. Prism was the cable channel back then. And my dad would scurry up the telephone pole and steal it. And, I believe My Bloody Valentine was the movie that was on that night. And in that movie, it was an axe murderer with a gas mask and a miner's helmet. And it was maybe about 20-25 minutes after we'd watched it. I remember my mom had made the Jiffy Pop on the range.
Yeah.
Old school popcorn. And another movie was about to come on, and if I'm not mistaken, it would have been The Exorcist.
Oh Lord.
My mom let me watch whatever. I to this day I don't know why. She just let if it was on, she let me watch it. And there was a knock at the door.
Oh.
So I thought, that's got to be Dad, coming home from the bar. So I hurry up and I throw the door open, and there's a man in a miner's helmet, in a gas mask, with an axe. And I screamed, slammed the door, and grabbed a knife and started knifing the door. My mom only remembers me attacking the door with a knife.
And how old were you?
Maybe 6,
Oh.
7, somewhere in that general area. And this house, this property specifically, things like that would happen sporadically. I always recall having whispers of my name, just my name, like, and everyone called me Petey when I was a kid, so it was always Petey. And I'd turn, yeah, and the hair would stand up on the back of my neck. I had a shag because it was the early 80s. But it always stick up, and I'd be looking around and nothing, and then Bart would, when things would build to a crescendo, that's when I would actually see Bart.
So was Bart like a good guy? He was ornery, obviously. He was not a good.
No, he was basically a destroyer.
Like a trickster.
Yeah.
So your sister also has experiences with this.
Yes.
And he looked the same to her.
Exactly.
That he looked to you.
Exactly the same. But unfortunately, my sister would also have nightmares that corresponded with it, where I was possessed and doing terrible things to her.
Oh my God. So it was connected, like she had. Oh, that's awful.
My baby sister grew up with a healthy fear of me, and I never did anything untoward to her.
That's so creepy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it doesn't things don't actually start to develop psychically or paranormally until we finally leave that property when I was 13 years old, and we moved approximately 3 blocks away to another home. And things, it went from just my sister and myself seeing and hearing things to the entire family. And at that point, it wasn't just an imaginary friend type situation. It turned into something like an attachment.
So back to your sister for a minute. Does she know, like, did she figure out later that there was no reason to be afraid of you, or did that stick with her?
No, it didn't stick with her.
That's good.
She figured that out once we left that home.
Okay. Did the dreams continue once you left?
For her, no.
Yeah.
No, that part subsided.
Okay. And did Bart go to the next place?
I started to figure out what Bart was, and Bart wasn't even a male or a Charlie McCarthy doll. It was something feminine and something that was intrinsically attached to me for some reason.
So how did you figure that out, and what do you think it was? That's fucking creepy.
I'm still not sure what it is, because it's not really gone per se, but it's something that has zero sway over me since I refound my faith in Christ. But other people were the ones who had shown me that it wasn't male, wasn't what it had been disguising itself as. Because I had one of my friend's mothers, she didn't profess to be psychic specifically, but when I was pretty young, I left home, and I went to stay with my friend Hans and his mother. And as I was moving in, she said, "Now, Pete, you're welcome, but she's not."
Ew.
And I looked at it, I was like, what are we talking about? And she said, "That fucking thing that stuck to you is not welcome in my home."
Ugh.
And I'd had similar experiences with people who had professed to be mediums and the like, that what you have is attached to you, and what it is feminine. It's not really masculine, even though it masquerades as such. And I don't even pretend to understand what that's about.
Yeah. So I don't know enough about like mythology and folklore or whatever to have any idea what that could potentially be. But like, what the hell would trigger that?
I don't know, because the really like frigged up part of it all is, aside from all of this, I have, and they say this comes on at puberty, but it didn't for me. My entire life I've had sleep paralysis. And when I was very young, we didn't know what sleep paralysis was in the 80s. So I likened it to an exorcist type scenario. I was convinced I was becoming possessed when I was very, very small, because you lose control of your body, you're paralyzed, you hear voices, you see things. Specifically, I would see not hags, but women who were chewing their own lips off.
Wow.
Nude women who were chewing their own lips off and joyous, like enraptured in the act of self-harm, specifically chewing their lips off and pulling their nipples off. Just things that a kid who's like 8-9 years old should not be even summoning.
So would this be like in dreams, or like sort of visions, or?
Well, the way sleep paralysis comes on for me, which from what I've heard of others, it's not dissimilar. But whenever I know when it's going to come on. I know hours before. I feel it during the day when I'm at work. I start to get a ringing in my ears.
It's almost sort of like an epileptic thing. Like when people have epilepsy, they can feel when something's going to happen.
It's incredibly similar. And I'll normally just force myself to stay awake as long as humanly possible.
Right.
And then I'll collapse, and then I have no choice but to go through with it. But sometimes my wife will want me in bed, so I'll lay down, and it'll almost like invariably it will start in the right hand side of the room, whatever room I'm in. I sleep on the left side of the bed. It'll always start in the right corner of the room, and I'll hear murmuring, and it'll sound like a murmuring of a few different people, indiscernible. I couldn't tell you what they're even remotely trying to say, but it's at that point where I lose motor control function, and then I lose the ability to use my voice. But I won't fully be asleep. I'm never fully asleep when I have these episodes. Never.
So Tim, you used to hear weird voices when you were a kid, right? Whenever you would have those, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I remember you talking about hearing what you called witches as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I had there was a book series called Man, Myth, and Magic. It's like an encyclopedia of weird stuff.
Yep.
And there was this tiny little library near the farm where I grew up, and they had that for whatever reason. They had that series, and from a very young age, I would get that out. So I think I was probably, and I was fascinated by like stuff like witches' Sabbaths and stuff, and I think that probably influenced the reason why I thought they were witches.
Right.
And I thought this was just a recurring nightmare for years and years and years until later I connected it to like the quote unquote alien, quote unquote abduction stuff. I don't believe they're scientists from another planet, and I don't believe I left my bed. So, but I will say alien abduction is shorthand.
Sure.
But when I was little, I had this, recurring, I call it a recurring dream, but I know I was awake. I was awake because I was terrified. And I would wake up and I would hear I could tell they were three different voices downstairs when I was upstairs. And the only thing I knew is they can't know I'm awake. Like they can't know I'm awake. And I would just sit there and listen to them. And for some reason, I decided they were like witches doing a Sabbath. I think, again, because I had those books and no other reason, but it was a language I didn't understand. I couldn't tell what they were saying. It was like some weird language. And for years I just thought, well, I just had this recurring dream as a kid. But like I said, I always knew it was weird because I always knew I was awake, because I would lay there awake, just waiting for, somebody else to wake up because I was terrified.
So whenever you would have sleep paralysis, was it like how Peter was, where during the day you sort of felt like something was off at all?
Yeah, I had no clue. It was ever going to happen. Like no warning,
Yeah. I kind of feel like that makes sense, though, that some people would have like a vibe during the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if it's more of a spiritual thing than like just a sleep paralysis, like your body does this weird thing. Like if it's related to spiritual stuff, it seems like you could get a heads up on that. Like something's off in the atmosphere around you, and if you're a sensitive person, you would pick up on that.
I think some people just might be better in tune with their body as well. I've always felt sort of somewhat separate, from a kid even to like now with MS. I always feel like I'm not, like some part of my body is not me. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not in full control over it. But a lot of that's MS.
I actually had a doctor tell me that certain people are so in tune with their body that anytime something's even slightly off, it causes them to have anxiety. That she said that's what my problem is. Because like even if it's just you're a little dehydrated, your body feels different and it triggers anxiety in me. So
I can believe that.
Yeah, so that's why I can't drink alcohol, and I have to be very careful with caffeine or whatever, because just that slightly feeling off of normal causes me to have anxiety. And I'm positive that's why I had anxiety today, because I got up this morning and drank coffee and didn't eat anything until like 1:00 in the afternoon, which is fucking stupid. So I had all this caffeine going in my system, and that threw me off, and then blah, 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 blah. But I think like that would make sense if you're somebody who's like super in tune with any kind of physical stuff or even just electricity in the air around you. If you, even if it's just a physical sleep paralysis, because I'm sure there's like normal sleep paralysis and then there's other kind of sleep paralysis. You know what I mean? Like spiritual weird stuff. So,
I mean, again, this comes from just talking to a million people on Strange Familiars, but I know there's a scientific reason for sleep paralysis, like know, but that said, I still think it's connected to the paranormal. 100%.
It absolutely is, and you know the human animal, I in my opinion, be it the pineal gland, whatever, attenuates us to the paranormal. It's intrinsic to what we are. That we have consciousness for a reason. You know, we're self-aware for a reason, and I think unfortunately with that self-awareness comes that attenuation to the ether, if you want to call it that. And some people are more in tune with that than others, and unfortunately I think the people who are born more in tune with that suffer more for it.
That's what I was going to say. Like, don't you think that probably a lot of people who suffer from like anxiety and stuff, maybe they're picking up on things that they don't know they're picking up on, and it causes like a reaction in them that they don't quite get? Because like, I know for me, I can track anxiety to a degree, like certain times due to medical issues, whatever, or hormonal, whatever, you can sort of track it. But then there's other times where you're just someplace and the vibe is off. There's something weird about the atmosphere. It's creepy. You can say, do you feel that? And sometimes your friend is like, yeah, it's weird in here. You know, I mean, obviously that is a thing. I'm not like making any profound statement here, but it's interesting. And like, I feel like some people are super in tune to that stuff, and other people, like a ghost could literally appear before them and they wouldn't see it because it would just be like, oh yeah, that was just the light or something. You know what I mean?
Well, those people are normally victims of their own logic.
Yeah, but maybe they're better off.
They most certainly are, but I've also always said that people who aren't necessarily less intelligent, but people who are less aware of their surroundings are blissfully ignorant.
Yeah, but I also think that it could be the opposite of that. Like sometimes people are too smart for their own good too. So they miss out like on a lot of things or discount a lot of things that have validity to it because they're so smart that it has to make sense logically. You know? So I think it goes both ways. But I don't know.
Sometimes this stuff happens and it's not for them. And I mean that quite literally. You know, these stories of people, it'll be a husband and a wife, and you know, something will show up in their bedroom, and you know, one of them will try to wake the other one up, like, wake up, and they literally cannot wake them up. They'll be screaming, shaking them as hard as they can. They cannot wake them up. They will not wake up. Or another story I had, one of the guests, you know, something was in the room. He said his wife woke him up and just basically said, "Hey, it's for you." And she goes back to sleep, and there's this weird.
Wasn't that a flannel man? Was that a flannel man one?
I don't know if it was a flannel man or one of those. It's one of those like bedroom invaders, nighttime invaders things. You know, that
flannel man. Look, we have one with us, the flannel man.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong kind of flannel though.
It's word's not lost on me.
Oh, did you wear that for Timothy? No. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird because like my friend Shelby is, I mean, I'll speak for back in the day. She was like super, could just let herself go. She's also the kind of like, I mean that spiritually, not like just lets herself go. But like, yeah, it sounded really weird. But like, you know, back in the day, like we would do Ouija board and all this kind of stuff. And her and like another friend of mine could like channel spirits. And I know that sounds ridiculous. And a lot of people would be like, yeah, right, whatever. But unless you actually experience that, it's very easy to go, she was just fucking with you, right? Really easy to like blow that off. But when you know somebody like the back of your hand and you can see a physical difference between point A and point B, and like she could, it was noticeably different. The way her eyes looked, the way she changed her speech patterns, everything, whatever. And so she was like, she could just do that. Like she could just open herself up and do that and be an open vessel. I'm on the other hand, like I said before, have to be in control of myself at all times. So I can't let anything like that come over me. And so I was like not open to it. But like she is also the person that like she talked in her sleep all the time and like would sleep with her eyes open. She would get up and have full conversations and like be completely asleep and have no recollection of any of it.
That's
and I
me.
was kind of wondering how you do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if some people just are more open vessels, but by the same token, it didn't affect her. Like I would be completely freaking out. Like, oh my God, this person is talking through her right now. And she's just like, yeah, whatever, it's Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Interesting. And I've tried to like explain to me how that felt. And she doesn't even really have explanation for it. You know what I mean? It's fascinating to me. But again, I've always been like super fascinated, but I only go so far before nope, not for me. I don't know what my point I was trying to make, but or nevertheless. So you say you also have these, I think I was going to go into sleep stuff because I have weird sleep stuff too, but I've never had sleep paralysis, but I wake up and see things in the room, but I've never had like the paralysis thing.
That you know of, but to me that smacks of it, especially seeing something in the room in which you sleep. You know, I know for a fact my father also had some form of sleep paralysis, and he would see a man that resembled a Quaker, had the flat top hat, and he would always be a bearded man, and he'd always be right there.
Ew.
Staring at him.
That guy in Poltergeist.
Somewhat like that, but you know, he didn't have the facial hair to match. And he would always fade out, and that would be the end of it. Nothing would be said. You know, nothing would transpire. He would just see him, and he would fade back, and that would be the end of it. He didn't experience the other paralysis symptoms, with the exception of what I spoke of in Vietnam. And when we moved from the original property we lived on in Avoca to the other home, my father didn't really have any other experiences except for when I was 13 and we moved.
Yeah, so that was our next, we got derailed by me. So you said, so the next phase was when you moved. So like what went on when you moved to the new place?
See, when we moved to this other home, which was on the main street of Avoca, it was closer to the railroad tracks, hence closer to the scene of the accident that had taken place in the 1800s. My mother really wanted this house. She really wanted to be away from her parents who owned the property we lived on. She just wanted to start her own life. She'd already had 5 children at that point. I'm the oldest of them. And, you know, she wanted that final declaration of independence, I guess.
Sure.
So they find this home. It's in disrepair, to say the least. My father being a pipe fitter and my being mechanically inclined, she had basically said, you two can fix it up and over the summer, and then we can move in. So my mother only set foot in it maybe 2 times, 3 times, whereas my father and I spent the entire summer between my 13th and 13th and 14th birthday, gutting and flipping this home. None of my siblings were there really. That wasn't their station in life. You know, they were all far too young to be doing that sort of work. I, on the other hand, it was par for the course. So Dad and I were flipping this home that summer. And oftentimes we would end up camping out in this house because we would work far on into the night. And that's when things went from my just having this imaginary friend situation and hearing voices and occasionally having sleep paralysis episodes and maybe an apparition here or there tied to Bart, becoming something wholly and completely different. Something similar to what my neighbors, the Smurls, went through. Seeing human beings, apparitions of human beings locked in life or death battle in front of us, screaming from the closet in my parents' bedroom specifically, and from the bedroom that became mine specifically. My father and I did not want to be in this home. We didn't want to move in. We discussed it many times. This place is wrong. We need to get out of this. And now just to backtrack, my relationship with my father was such that he didn't really speak to me like I was a child ever. We had a relationship where he discussed everything with me, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That was just our relationship, and that's how he spoke to me. So he would sit me down and say, "This place is fucking wrong."
And you were 13, right?
I was 13, but he'd always spoken to me like that. Like, what are we gonna? He always asked me for advice, even when I was like 9. Like, what are we gonna do about this? I'm a fucking kid, Dad. What do you want me to say to you? But yeah, he had just cashed in his entire retirement to buy this shithole and buy the materials with which to flip it. So we're in the midst of that. We're seeing things, we're hearing things. Broad daylight, mind you. This isn't just like, your nighttime spooks.
Right.
We're working in bedrooms in the daytime, and this house was massive. Which was a complete, you could have fit 5 of the home I'd grown up inside of this. Chandeliers would swing, cold spots in the dead of summer, because we did all of the work in the dead of summer, and we would walk through the hallway and it would feel like it was 45 degrees and you could see your breath. The attic was especially heinous, and he wouldn't go up there. He would send me up there.
Nice. Thanks, Dad.
Well, that was, according to my father, I was charmed. But he would send me up there, and I would, run the electric. He didn't touch electrical. That was my job. So I would run the Romex up there and tack it down. And I found a steamer trunk. Very, very, very old tin-lined steamer trunk. And of course, being the complete and utter knucklehead that I was, I opened it up.
Well, duh.
I've got to see what's in there.
Sure.
And it was devoid of anything but 2 old flapper style hats from the 1920s. So I brought them down with me. They were these really intricate felt hats with feathers in them. And things went from pretty unlivable to completely and utterly just nihilistic. People we finished the home. We were stuck with it. They'd already paid for it. We'd already flipped it.
Sure.
We moved in, and my father, who went from, he would drink. He wasn't a saint, but he wasn't an alcoholic. Went from just having drinks now and again to waking up when he was laid off, specifically waking up and starting to drink. My mother went from, being of good health. She was in her late 30s, maybe at this point, went through the change like that immediately the second we moved in. And
That's young too.
that's young. That's very young. I'd never heard my mother use vulgarity until that home. And my sister and I began to play with drugs, not just smoking pot. We were like 13, 14 years old, and we were playing with, Xanax. The equivalent at the time of Oxycontin would have been Dilaudid. We were buying that. Junior high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, things started to devolve rapidly in this house. And it wasn't always just due to things you'd seen or things you'd hear. It was just the air in that place was
Like
it was
vibes.
it was oppression. It wasn't just vibes, it was oppression. It's like you would have the greatest day of your life, walk into that house, and everything sucked out of you.
Like just heavy.
Mm-hmm. Like you were in an airlock in a space shuttle, and they just open the door on you, and you get the bends, and everything sucks out of you.
Did you ever like do any kind of like research about who maybe had lived there before or anything like that?
Nothing remarkable. The only remarkable thing about that home was the fact that right before we bought it and my parents were talking about it, my best friend, when I was that age, walked by that house one night near Halloween time, and it had been gone unlived in for probably 5-6 years at that point. And I looked up at the bedroom window of what would become my bedroom, and I saw a woman in a gown, white gown, very gaunt, very scraggly hair. And she just looked at me. I looked up at her, and then she was gone. And I knew I was fucked.
Good times.
Good times. Now, there were good things happen to me in this time period too, but just not inside the house.
So, how long did you live there?
I lived there for 3 years.
3 years. And then what caused the move out?
My dad got really violent one night, and the police got called, and we got into a very physical altercation. The police removed him. My parents split up and never divorced.
Oh.
And I moved. I went away to school, and I never went back.
Okay.
Now the remainder of my siblings and my mother lived there for another approximately 9-10 years. And they lost the house, and no one ever lived in it again.
Really? So it's empty. Is it still there?
No, the neighbors on either side purchased it, had it torn down, and turned it into a parking lot.
Wow.
Yeah. Prime real estate in a really nice neighborhood.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I guess.
People knew. I think people really knew what was up with that place. And as much as I dug into any sort of past with that home, nothing. I mean, people died in it, but people die everywhere.
Right.
You can't walk 2 feet without being on a plot of land where some human being has died. Now, there's differing opinions on what creates a vortex. And just like there's differing ideas of what ghosts are. I have never, with the exception of 2 times, I saw my father after he died, and I saw my grandfather after he died. With the exception of those 2, anything paranormal or otherworldly I've encountered, witnessed, has been something that was never human. And I believe that in my heart of hearts. Never human. And in my opinion, in order for a vortex to be formed by any human being in any way, something truly, truly violent had to have happened, or there's a ley line. And I believe there are ley lines in the town of Avoca.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything. I have no answers. Nobody does, though, really. But
no, who would?
Right. So, I mean, Timothy, you always talk about how weird Pennsylvania is anyway, right? So, I mean, it stands to reason that that place is weird too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go far in Pennsylvania to get some weird stuff going on.
And I mean, I don't know anything about any of this stuff really, but like the area that you're in, you talk about how, you know, I mean, not just you, people in general talk about how places have like water is like a conduit to spirits, and you know, gemstones or whatever can conduits to this kind of stuff. And so it does make you wonder, you know, what's going on over there.
Well,
that could potentially,
you know, one thing that, you know, you can't guarantee this stuff with anything, but one thing I do find in common with, I mean, a huge percentage of the research I do is, I call it buried treasure theory, because it starts with these folkloric tales of fairies and ghosts guarding treasures, but it extends to the idea of anything valuable being in the ground and people digging for it. So you talk, you know, this is a mining town. People have been digging in the ground for years and years there, and you will find this again and again. When I talk to Bigfoot witness, you know, I'll let them tell their story all about the monkey, and then I start asking the other questions. You know, what else is weird around here? Oh, my house is haunted, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. I saw a UFO, et cetera, et cetera. You go down the line, and then eventually I get to, well, are there stories of buried treasure around here? Oh yeah, yeah. There's a story of a lost silver mine in here, or there's the story of pirates sailed up the Susquehanna River and buried treasure here, whatever it is. So, but it's the idea of something of value being in the ground. Sometimes this can take the form of creatures themselves. Sometimes people will tell you, oh yeah, Bigfoot lives in this abandoned mine, and he comes out. But you know, again, it's like this idea of just digging into the earth, I think, does something. It stirs something up because it happens so much. It's so frequent around these cases, at least in Pennsylvania, at least the cases I research. When you start asking, like, what's, you know, what have they done near here? Where have they been digging into the ground? Where have they been, you know, looking for this? Where are there legends of lost treasure, et cetera, et cetera? So mining town checks a box. The fact that they were rehabbing the house checks a box. I mean, that's a trope in the ghost hunting world, but it's true. Like, tons of these hauntings.
You know, because they say that anytime in an old house, when people start changing things, it kind of pisses the former inhabitants off a little.
I think that's one way of looking at it. I'd say that's a bit simple. I say rather that you're creating a liminal state. It's an in-between state, and liminality is a good way to manifest this stuff.
Yeah, that makes complete and utter sense, especially due to the fact that it was a deep rehab. But the only thing that kind of gave me pause about blaming it specifically on that was I had seen a female in that window
prior,
and the running theme with people who are psychically gifted in my life all say something similar about the fact that this female or female appearing entity is attached to me. It's always a female. It's always this self-harming female entity.
So back to Bart for a second.
Mhm.
So where did that name come from? Is it just something you randomly called him, or
As far as I can remember, that's what I was told to refer to him as.
What
By the entity.
By the entity specifically, yeah. I mean, I don't know what other reference I would have to that name would be.
Right.
You know, I mean, kids are open,
Sure.
especially very young ones. And I'm always terrified that my son, just like my daughter, is going to come to me one day and say they have an imaginary friend. My daughter had one.
That's my word. Ugh, no
And
thanks.
that caused a lot of anxiety with me, because her name was this girl. She was this little girl named Maudie who hung out with her. And I said, well, what's Maudie look like? And she, oh, well, Maudie's dead.
Oh.
Now, my daughter never wasn't allowed to watch the movies I was allowed to watch when I was a child. You know, I had already come to my faith by the time she was born. When I was about 24 years old. You know, she didn't have a frame of reference for something like this.
I was going to say earlier, I wonder if being exposed to that really scary stuff at such a young age, when your brain is super creative, did it, you know, not cause, but help along some of that? You know what I mean? Like,
I think, yeah, that's plausible. And, you know, my wife has, and many others have posited that very thing to me. I just, I'm of the mind that it would have happened regardless. I think I was born who I am, and
sure.
whatever that specific thing is, or things, they're attracted to and or are attached to me.
Probably because you see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is.
Time with people that don't pay attention. You know, what would be the point, really?
Yeah,
but like, you know, I just mean more like if you're having like super vivid dreams about creepy stuff and whatever. Like, you know, obviously external stuff we read and see or hear can have an effect on stuff like that. But if you're actually physically seeing something with your eyes, that's a whole nother level of
and in all honesty, the fact that I am speaking of this pretty much guarantees that I'm going to hear or see something tonight.
That's what freaks me out.
But you know, I'm used to it. I know how to handle it. But the older I get, the more I still can't break out of a paralysis episode. But I do end up being very confrontational with whatever it is I see in that arena.
How old are you?
I'm gonna be 45 in 2.5 weeks.
It's not impossible, but it is unusual for sleep paralysis to continue outside of the 30s.
I've had it since I was a small child, Tim. And almost everything I've read says that it normally comes on around pubescence and goes away in your 30s. And it's been who I am my whole life. No change, just severity.
Mine came on in college and pretty much faded before.
The Apostles' Creed does seem to cessate things for me, but it depends on the severity of what's going on as well.
And if someone would to say, like a non-believer would say to me, well, you're just saying a mantra and it's giving you something to concentrate on, I possibly totally, like, I'm okay with that. You know, like, yeah.
It's whatever works, but invoking the name of Jesus Christ in and of himself has gotten me out of some spiritual situations that I fully believe I would not have gotten past had I not invoked the name of Christ.
Yeah. it's weird because every once in a while, I'll have dreams that I feel like aren't dreams. And there's always somebody evil in the dream, and it's usually a kid. And I'm like the only person in the dream that's aware that this child is evil. And like they know that I know. And so they're always like this with me, right? And every time I have that dream, like the entire dream, that's what I'm doing, like, you know, casting this thing out, and it just sits and looks at me. Like it doesn't do anything to me. It just knows that I know what it is. And everybody else is unaware, completely unaware. And every time I have those dreams, I'm like fucked up for a couple days afterwards. Like I'm afraid to go to sleep, because that's why I like really don't like talking about that stuff, because it's such a, even though I know I'm okay, it's so disturbing that I hate it. Like it's just the creepiest. And I'm sure it's tied to the shit that I was into when I was a younger person, because it's the same, I get the same exact feel from it. And you know, they come every once in a while to fuck with you. They just do. Yeah. So it's really, I hate it with a burning passion. It's so scary, because again, it's like you're in this dream and you're like, I know what you are, you know that I know, and I just have to deal with it. Like nobody else cares. Everyone else is going about their business. No one believes you when you're like, that person's evil, you know. It's disturbing. It's super disturbing. So I don't really have sleep paralysis, but I do every once in a while have dreams like that, where it's a dream, but it's not a dream. Like there's definitely more to it that's going on.
Are you guys okay if I take off for like a minute? I just have to go check on my son. I'll be right back.
Well, you know, it's because you could never know true heat there in Arizona.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I only live in the desert. It's not really hot here. It's not really hot here because the humidity level is not that high. Mm-hmm. So 109 actually feels about like 65 degrees.
Yeah, right.
There's no humidity level.
I would just shrivel in that heat. I would just, there's no way. I could not do it.
It's really not fun. And you know, granted, we don't have like high humidity level here, but let me tell you, 109 with 45% humidity, it feels like a swamp outside.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's not fun. But hey, it's not as hot as Florida. Wherever.
Well, Florida has Florida, man.
Big Florida.
Florida has the skunk ape.
True. Hey, have you ever had anybody come on your show and talk about the skunk ape?
Sure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, guy, I'm trying to think of the story. I had one guy who told a story about seeing one crawl like a spider in his backyard. Ooh. It was all fours. It was like crawling like a spider. It was real creepy. I had another one too. I'm trying to remember. I know I've had two or three people talk about it.
So that your last guest on your show the other day, I'm trying to think what he was talking about now, but it felt so familiar to. Completely lost me.
The dude with the demon.
Yeah, there was something that he was talking about that very much felt familiar to me.
He was he had the Flannel Man thing, he had the demon, and let's see if I have my notes here. The Black Panther thing. I forget what else.
There was something that I can't remember what it might have been. It might have been a dream or something that he talked to. I can't remember what it was, but I remember.
Or were you or you mean Dylan, the first guest?
No, the second guy.
Second guest, okay.
And it was the second, but yeah, I can't remember what it was now, but I remember when I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. So whenever, I'm not going to get into the story again, but whenever, like before I got saved, whatever you want to call it, the pastor that I was talking to at the time was like, Yeah, things are going to get really bad for you now. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's going to get bad for you now. And that's the same vibe that I get from the dreams that I have, because right around that time, like I would wake up with hives all over my body and scratch marks and like just stuff like that. Never had panic attacks before. And I remember the first time I had a panic attack, I was at my friend Pat's house and we were just sitting there watching TV, and like I felt all of this, like there was this heaviness in the air. And he had a whole set of other issues that probably didn't help the situation. But and it felt demonic, like it definitely felt demonic. But anyway, so that vibe that from that era where it was like, oh, so you think you're getting away now? Well, I'm going to fuck with you until I can't anymore, basically vibe. And so now, like, I feel like the only way they can really get to me is through dreams. And so they can't they're not really doing anything to me. It's just this scary, like, they're just so pure evil. Like you're looking into these eyes and it's just pure evil.
I mean, so often they don't really do anything, right? Like they just
they can't.
Yeah. But it's
technical, like if you're, a child of God or whatever, they really can't do anything but kind of smoke and mirrors type spooky.
But I think they might be, whatever it is,
right,
might be looking for that fear response.
Sure, of course. Yeah. That's kind of all they can really do, unless you open some sort of crack,
I often, I mean, and this goes right down to, I'm going to bring everything back to Bigfoot, but we've been bluff charged in the woods, and this thing sounds like it's coming at you, like a hurricane's coming through the woods, charging, and it never gets there. It just stops, So I think it's just they want the fear response, whatever these things are.
Yeah.
See, I've had the experience where once I came back to Christ, things got exponentially worse for me. Exponentially worse.
I know.
And I know that, in theory, my soul is protected, but physically speaking, this is really Satan's world, as they say, and it's still there. I don't really see a reprieve. I'm a lot more confident in the face of it. It doesn't, it still terrifies me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's still terrifying, obviously, because I'm not in control.
Well, and you can't see what you can't see. You know what I mean? Like, we're physical people. So you can't fight something that you can't see, sort of.
And that's, I think, what led so many of us down the path of opioid addiction, specifically because it dulls you to that. There's something intrinsic about opioids and heroin that shuts off that part of you.
Really?
It's been my experience, and it's been the experience of a myriad of people that have had similar experiences to my own, where when you are under the influence of said substance, you don't experience it, you don't see anything, you don't feel anything other than the drug. So but when you come down, it's 10 times worse, because you're open and you have no armor anymore. You're fodder for the demonic, so to speak.
Yeah, because in my mind, it seems like any drug would sort of open you up more.
Psychedelics open you up more in a different way. I think psychedelics can honestly fortify you if you use them correctly, but I was never one for delving too deep into psychedelics. I was always about like anesthetizing myself.
Mm. Plus, too, how does one know how to use things correctly? It's all
Trial and error.
well, but that's not a good thing. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, and plus, too, like Tim and I have talked about this before. Like people think that they have control over things, but there's no like hard and fast rule book for this, any of it.
No.
B, why would supernatural beings do your bidding? You're just a person, like you're just.
They might for a while, but
why?
It's always on their terms.
Right.
Whether you think it is or not, you might think it's on your terms, but it's on their terms, and they're gonna at some point prove that to you.
That's my thinking too, and like so I think it's like super arrogant when people think that they have any sort of control over anything at all, or that they have really any answers, because none of us really have any answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's why I always warn people about communication with spirits. They'll be like, oh yeah, did this and it predicted that, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure it did, but it's eventually going to start. If it's not lying from the beginning, it's going to start lying to you. And I can't tell you how many stories there are about people who ruin their lives because of spirit contact, because the spirit told them you're going to find treasure, you're going to get rich this way, or whatever it is. Right. And they just believe it and ruin their lives. They've searched. There's a story locally of a guy. He and his wife were doing automatic writing in the 1920s, and the spirit told him that there was buried treasure along the river, and he just had to find it. And he spent his entire life looking for this buried treasure, and drove himself into the poorhouse because it's never there. There's no treasure.
It's really weird too, because first of all, you don't know who you're talking to.
Exactly.
Nope.
So, whatever. They could be legit. They might be who they say they are. You know what I mean? We don't know.
They almost never are, though. And I've heard it said a million different ways. Divination is paid back to you sevenfold. Divination is always paid back to you sevenfold. So no matter what, if you are involved in the left-hand path in order to inflict pain on an enemy, whatever you inflict upon them, it's going to come back at you and back at you and back at you sevenfold. And those are literally the rules of the left-hand path, whether it be Thelema, whether it be whatever form of black magic you're involved in. And I've been involved in it. It always comes back at you much harder than whatever you intend to inflict. And when you attempt to speak to something beyond the veil, you're inviting it, and that's what they thrive on. They're spiritual vampires. They need us far more than we need them. Whatever you'd like to call these beings, they thrive on our life force, our energies. So when we reach out to them to get them to do little favors or tell us our fortunes, or you speak to them through spirit boards, scrying, whatever method you choose, it ends up inhabiting you.
Yeah.
And
really strange, because I told you guys, like, me and my friends and stuff, we used to do the Ouija board and all that kind of stuff. And like, again, things would always be like 2 days off, like, or 2 numbers off. Like, you're going to meet this person and they're going to be 18. Well, you meet them and they're 16.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to meet them on Wednesday. You meet them on Friday. Like, everything was always 2 days off. Okay, that's whatever. Who cares? So I never would touch the Ouija board. I would be in the room and be like, ask it this, ask it that. But again, me being who I am, I get close, but I don't get too close, right? So this whole time, you know, I was always around it. And the only stuff that I did do is I did actually do automatic writing and tarot and pendulum and that kind of stuff. But I never did any of the like Ouija board, you know, or
I didn't do too much. I only did pendulums, automatic writing, tarot.
Yeah. So 95% of it.
Oh Lord. Okay, yeah, well, whatever. But
Enochian magic. I was I had the Necronomicon. I summoned Cthulhu a couple times, and
but like I guess I didn't consider that direct contact with spirits for some strange reason. I don't know. I had a rationale for it at the time. Whatever.
Wow.
I know. We can convince ourselves of a lot of stupid shit, right? So anyway,
I'm only snorting it. I'm not injecting it.
Oh my God, I almost just said something terrible. But okay.
Oh, so I like terrible things. Go for it.
Oh, I can't say this. I'm moving on. So, but anyway, you know, that was my rationale, I guess, at the time. But so all of us before we got into this stuff were really goofy, silly, like teenagers, did nothing evil, nothing bad. None of us smoked, drank, took drugs, anything. We were just these goofy little, like, dorky kids. And then once we started kind of getting into this darker stuff, whatever, our personalities kind of radically changed. And like I was not a very nice person. I know it's hard to believe because I'm such a treasure now. But no, but I was like really not nice. And I mean, if we were cool, we were cool, but like I could switch on like that. And so my whole group of friends, there was a whole lot of turmoil, and we start, you know, people were lying to each other and this and that and the other. And so like towards the end of all of this, I'd already quit hanging out with a couple people. And then I was having questions about another one. And I just felt like I was being completely deceived. And I'm like, I have to have answers, right? So this one night I come home, get the Ouija board out, which was literally a cardboard box lid with handwritten stuff on it. Took my ring and started asking questions. This was the first and only time I ever did this. And it worked. Always before, anytime I tried to get it involved in anything, nothing would ever even work. Because it was like I had this block. I'm like, I really, like, I want to do this, but I don't really want to do it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm asking this thing questions, and it gave me answers. But the weirdest thing happened. It spelled all of this out to me. It made me promise to never, ever do it again. Never, ever do it again. So and I never did. I got rid of the stuff, never touched it again. So, and then of course, it wasn't for a couple more years that I became a Christian or whatever. But I always thought that was so weird. And I never quite could understand, like, who was talking to me and like why. I mean, okay, I know that the sane, logical person would say, Tara, you answered your own questions, you moved to the board, you told yourself this and whatever. Maybe I did. I don't believe that, because you can tell the difference between your answering your own questions and whatever. I don't know. Who knows? Well, but I always thought that was such a strange thing that it said, promise me you will never do this again.
Well, you definitely reached something benevolent. That's
that's the you know, what Brother Richard told me, and what really struck home is that, you know, there's an ecosystem out there of spirits, you know, bad, good, and everything in between. And so not everything you're going to get is going to be, you know, a demon. Not everything you're going to get is going to be good. The problem is you don't know what you're going to get, and you don't know what you have, because it's really, really easy for something to lie through a Ouija board, you know, or anything else. I mean, you know, how easy is it for people to lie to each other? here we're this
Sure.
removed from this, whatever this is, whatever we're contacting. We're that much further removed. We have no facial cues. We got, I mean, and if it is some sort of entity that has more, power or whatever, say than we do. I mean, that's a weird word and weird way to phrase it, but anyway, it'd be quite easy for that thing to lie to us, and that's a good. I have a lot of friends who are really involved in like so-called high occultism, and they're summoning spirits, and they tell me they can control these spirits, and I always just shake my head and be like, okay, man, you can control them until you can't. So have fun with that. But yeah, I think Tara, you happen to reach something that maybe was on the good side of things, and maybe knew, like, okay, this is your one shot. I'm coming through, I'm talking to you, but don't do this again.
Well,
I think you lucked out. I think that's what happened. You lucked out.
Well, the weird thing about it too was that so we had a whole group of spirits that we talked to regularly, and there were some that I was more connected to than others, and of course they always tended to be the darker ones, because of course I'm attracted to the spooky creepy dudes, right? Like, of course. But and the one that I asked to talk to wasn't the one that came. It was literally the sweetest, innocent one of all of the people that we talked to. Now, keep in mind, I don't really believe they were who they said they were, and this, that, and the other. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, probably not. But I find it interesting that the kind, like the sweetest, most innocent one of the bunch is the one that came to talk to me and was like, don't ever do this again, please. Promise me you'll, and it repeated it, promise me. Like, it said it twice, promise me you're never going to do this again. Just a weird thing, and I never did, and I never would and never will, for a lot of reasons. But
do you happen to remember any of the names by any chance?
yeah, but I won't say them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Never ever.
Yeah, so a lot of times speaking a name is invocation in and of itself.
I hate that I can't even remember them.
Were these like first and last names kind of thing?
No, just first names.
And relatively common, like, people names?
All of them were very common names except for one, and of course that was the one that I liked the best.
Lucian or something like this.
I'm not gonna say. That wasn't it though. No, it wasn't like some like gothic romance novel.
Tristane.
Yeah, it was Bob.
It was
Just
Roz
God.
Williams.
Oh my God.
I am Roz Williams.
At that time, I'm like, but you're still alive. No, it wasn't anything.
I hate valor.
It was Valor. How did you know? Ugh, creepy. No, I get weird even talking about this.
I relate to that, but I don't lend enough power to whatever it is that is my anti, that I would be so reticent not to discuss it, especially in light of the fact that I'm among friends and I am ultimately protected.
Sure, yeah, I agree with that. I just don't like. I legit have not uttered those names since that day. I don't even think I've talked about the names to the people that knew them.
So we go on this hike through the woods, Tara. It's dark. There's hornets flying around us, and we get to a clearing, and the moon's shining down, and on this boulder is a Ouija board.
Oh, shut up! And I scream and run the other way. What are you asking me if I'll do a Ouija board with you?
No. I was just Like, see how I can make your woods walk creepier.
That would do it. That would 100. And Christian Death with Valor singing.
See, yes, your priest vomit at my feet.
Is that actual lyrics?
That is actual lyrics to Heresy Part 2 by Valor Era Christian Death.
Okay, so I'm going to prove right now how not a goth I am.
Okay.
I think I've only heard one Christian Death album, the very first one, Only Theater of Pain.
Well, that's a good one to hear.
Right. From what I understand, it's really, well, no, I'm not going to say that. I don't know anything about them except for the mystique.
Well, the first Christian Death album, that's a death rock album. That's not a goth album.
Yeah,
that's death rock.
That's like, that West Coast like death rock thing.
Yeah, that has more in common with hardcore than it does with
well, yeah, Mike said he saw them, like they used to come over here and to play, and he's like, they were a punk band, they weren't a goth band.
Well, the thing is, I mean, for us to switch gears into this, like, let's clear the air. Goth, it's punk. Goth is punk.
Yeah,
it's all punk. Hardcore is punk. Goth is punk. Lycia is punk. It's post-punk, but it's punk.
That was our mindset definitely back in the day, is that everything was punk. It was just different kinds of punk. That was the mindset in Northeast Ohio in 1980s, early 90s.
Well, we all hung out together too, and that's the thing people don't understand. The hardcore kids, the straight edge kids, the skinheads, the real skinheads, not the Nazis, the goths, the alternative kids, the
metal kids,
the metal heads,
skaters.
We all hung out together. We were the same people.
Yeah.
And we all liked each other's music to some degree or another. Have this idea that there was a goth scene or this scene or that scene. The only really solid scenes were the Nazis and the not Nazis, and that's all. That's what we had until straight edge really got massive in the 90s. And that's when things splintered off into like hardcore and then punk and then assholes.
That's kind of how it was in Ohio too. Like basically anybody who was an outcast just hung out together.
Yeah.
So like we're all different types of outcasts, but we all hung out with each other, as a cohesive unit, because I'm sure, I mean, back then you could legit get your ass kicked just for looking weird. So we all hung out together, and
I got the shit. Had I not been an athlete because I played baseball, I would have bled on an almost daily basis in the late 80s, early 90s.
I'm sure.
I was taking a walk with my son a while back at night, and there was some rowdy folks making some noise, and they hopped in their truck, and they kind of drove up around this dark street we were walking on. And I turned around on the sidewalk and I faced him. My son said, "What are you doing?" Like I faced the car. I said, "I've had so many bottles thrown at me because if you had a mohawk or something back then, you just got bottles whipped at you." And I said, "I want to see them, and I want them to know I'm looking at them. So if somebody whips something at me, I want to see it coming." And I wanted them to know that I'm looking at them. I want to face them down. It's just habit for me. I got hit by so many beer bottles that after a while, I just turn around and watch them coming. Right. And at least maybe I could throw something at them then,
I'm glad that the punk experience in Nowheresville, PA here versus there is still the same experience.
Yeah. Well, this was a suburb of Baltimore I was living in at the time, but yeah.
Oh, okay. It didn't really change. I mean, we weren't buying Manic Panic at a Hot Topic. We were buying it out of the back of Maximum Rock and Roll.
We had to First of
Making out
all,
a Kool-Aid.
I never had manic panic in my life. I would spray paint my goddamn hair.
Yeah.
I would spray paint my mohawk up. That's how I would get it to stand up and get it to be green. And then after it would cake up and get nasty, and you just cut it out. That's how I did that. But I remember some girlfriends I had, friends who were girls. They wanted manic panic, and we used to have to go on take the train into Baltimore, take that train to Silver Spring, take that train into DC. It's an all-day thing to get to the one place in DC where you could buy manic panic. There was no going to the mall and getting this stuff.
Right.
No,
We had
no.
to go into Cleveland. First of all of us were too poor to even afford manic panic.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted it, like sometimes we would go, window shopping. You'd have to go up into Cleveland. Like there wasn't even anything really in Akron. But
That was like Doc Martens. I was like, how the hell do you get money for Doc? I had like shitty combat boots from Sunny Surplus. That's what I had.
they were expensive. Like I remember, everything we got was from the thrift store for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one Christmas, my parents bought me combat boots. Which sounds hilarious now, but it was like a big deal because it's not like they were cheap. You know what I mean? Maybe they were, and I just
At Sunny Surplus. Did you guys have Sunny Surplus?
no.
Oh, it was an Army Navy like surplus store, and you could get
I don't know where my parents got
so
them, but
so cheap. Like you get a pair of I'm guessing these were like Korean War surplus stuff. Like this is old looking stuff, and you get a pair of like old combat boots for like $5-10. It was.
Yeah, my first pair of Doc Martens were given to me by a much older skinhead who I was his fresh cut, as we got called back in the day. It's the guy who shaved your head and gave you your first Cockspar cassette. That's where I got my first set of Doc Martens. With the exception of that, I had Pro Keds, because they were like $10 a piece.
Yeah, when I was an adult, I bought myself a pair of Doc Martens, having been told my entire life by people like, "Oh, they're the most comfortable shoe ever." They're horrible. They're hard. And I wore them for years trying to convince myself, "Oh yeah, they're comfortable. They got air soles." They're horrible. Absolutely horrible.
See, here's the difference, and this is the difference. They're comfortable if they're made in England.
I've heard that before.
If they're made in England, legit British Doc Martens, they're paratrooper boots. They're very comfortable. Stateside, they're just garbage, straight up garbage.
I've still never had a pair of Doc Martens. I'm not missing out on anything. I live in Arizona. I only wear flip-flops and slides. I don't put a sock or a shoe on my foot because there's no reason to. The only time I ever put a tennis shoe on is if I'm actually, walking for real, but or going to the zoo or something where you need an actual shoe on, but because flip-flops hurt your feet after a while. But why would I buy Doc Martens? There's no reason.
It's a status symbol. That's what it was then. That's what it is now.
Sure.
But
I used to try to hike in them and stuff, and once I got like a good hiking, and again, this is relatively recently in my life because I never had money, but once I got like a good hiking shoe and put it on, and it's not even so much that it's that you don't even notice. Like, and that's the sign of a good shoe. When you're on a 5-mile hike and you don't even think about your feet.
That's
and
right.
I realized that the first time I had a good hiking shoe, I was like, oh, this is what a good shoe is.
Yep, you buy your first pair of Moabs or your first pair of like good keen hiking boots, and you're like, oh dear God, life is different.
Yeah, because I went. My combat boot of choice after a while was the Israeli combat boots, the cloth ones. I always liked them, and I tried to hike in those for years and convinced myself they were comfortable. They're awful. They're just awful.
No,
they look cool. They're awful.
They're the Vietnam era jungle boot, basically those Israeli ones, because they're leather at the toe and heel cap, and then everything else is cloth.
Yeah, I think they're like vulcanized rubber. I don't even think they have any leather at all on them because they were the vegan choice for composites. Yeah.
What's funny about all this and what brings all of this back to what we were talking about before is anyone who is into all of this stuff, musically, fashion wise, these were the people who invariably you could talk to about your issues with this or you're bent toward this.
You're creepy.
Nine times out of 10, if someone else listened to anything punk related or The Cure or Morrissey, you could talk to them about the fact that your house was fucking haunted, and they wouldn't look at you like you were like, had a head wound.
I don't know why this reminded me of this, but I remember one time my friend Caleb, who's basically responsible for any cool music I was ever enlightened to back then, because he was from Cleveland. So he had access to good stuff. So anyway, I remember one time he came and lived with me for a while, and we were listening to Swans, and it would have been one of the that really heavy ones, like
Body to Body, Job to Job,
something like that. And we're in my bedroom listening to this, laying in the bed, just listening to Swans. And I remember my mom coming in to tell us something, and she goes, "Sounds like a dungeon in here." Like, well, yeah, I guess it does.
Did I ever tell you how I ruined the life of record store employees of this whole chain of record stores around Baltimore with the Swans? Did I ever tell you that story?
Yes, but tell it again.
So we were allowed to play any cassette in the store as long as it was open, right? There's like, as long as it's open, you can play anything in here. So I would, if there were too many people in the store, it was too annoying, I would get out the cassette of Filth we had, and I put that on and just blast it and clear the store out in minutes. And so that would
draw me in.
The district manager of the store comes in one day, and there's a sign up that says you can only play cassettes from the play box now. I ruined like the whole chain of everybody was so mad at me. Why'd you have to do that? I'm like, oh well. So then my next trick was to sell Coil's 12-inch of Tainted Love to anybody. To anybody who came in and asked for Soft Cell's Tainted Love. I would always, they're like, what's that? Is that song Tainted Love? And I'd always get the Coil 12. It's like, here you go. This is what you want.
So my friend was a DJ back in the day during this whole time. And we talked these like clubs into letting us have goth nights. And so he would go DJ, and he would always play that Coil's Tainted Love. And it was hilarious because most kids, like, people would come to this because they like that kind of music, but there would also be a lot of other people, jocks and like whatever. And so you can just imagine him playing this like trudging version of the song, and like we would all go to the dance floor. There'd be like 5 people, and then everybody else would be like, and it's long, so it's a long song.
Yeah.
I just picture in my head, like, you remember in the movie Wayne's World where there's the sign on the wall that says "No stairway," no anal staircase.
Oh, good times. Oh man,
I had to tell a kid I worked at a guitar shop for a while, and this one guy would come in. He never bought a thing. He just come in and pick up a guitar and just shred. Like, he was an excellent like metal guitarist. He was really good, but he'd just sit there and just shred, and he'd look up at me like he'd just whip out this like solo, this incredible solo, and he'd look up at me like, yeah, and just all night long he'd just sit there, and again, he never bought a thing. And one day he's just doing this. He's just wailing, just fingers like whipping up and down the neck of the guitar. Super talented kid. And he looks up at me, and he just gives me this look like, yeah. And I was like, all right, Eddie Van Dragon Force, you're done.
Oh, why am I picturing Swiss Star from Death Clock?
No.
Oh my God, I love Death Clock.
I like G-MILFs.
Grandpa's guitar. I love that show. So we used to watch it with the subtitles on because I didn't understand what they were saying. I can't wait till Dirk's old enough to watch that show. I think he's almost there, but it's still a little much, I think, for a 10-year-old.
I'd still be reticent to let my 21-year-old daughter watch it.
Yeah,
I keep pressuring Tara to let her son watch inappropriate stuff because there's so much stuff I reference that when my kids are a little older than her, so we have experienced more things, inappropriate things, and she's some years behind on these shows I want her to watch.
I know.
What's hilarious though is my daughter's 21, my son is 2.
Yeah, that's spreading them out.
Yeah, I'm. I have a thing going here.
You've got something going.
Yeah, I'm in the process of trying to make another.
I just said 2 and done. I had twins, first shot, boy and a girl.
Oh,
and
see, you lucked out.
2 and done. We fought for every bit we got. There was a rough road, but
sure.
But yeah, we did get very lucky in the end.
I always feel sorry for Dirk that he's going to be, an only. But I also, because every once in a while he'll say, "I wish I had a brother or sister." I'm like, 1, you don't know that you'd like them.
Mm-hmm.
2, you would have to divide everything, So this way you get 100% attention and whatever. But I do feel bad for him that he doesn't. But again, we never know about our siblings, so.
Well,
yeah.
I take it from me. I have 4 full-blood siblings and 1 half sister. I love them all. But being the oldest, oh goddamn. Dirk would be the oldest of whatever amount would transpire, and it would suck for him.
See, I'm the youngest of 6, and
I'm the oldest of 6, and it sucks.
I get along with my oldest brother. The rest of them, not so much. So,
yeah,
like you said, you don't know. You don't know.
You don't know. I always was like some of my friends. That's why I always said that I wished I was Italian, because a lot of my friends who were Italian, they had these big families and they all got along and they had these big family dinners and whatever. And my family was so not that way. So in my head, I always pictured I wish I was Italian and I had this whole big family thing. And realistically, that's not accurate. But yeah, I never had that situation. So I have 1 brother, but we are not alike at all.
Yeah. That's my brother, my one brother who passed away, he's the one who got me into punk rock and that stuff and zines and without knowing it set the course of my life. So while we weren't super close towards the end of his life, I do hold him up as someone who was really responsible. Like I said, the things he introduced me to certainly set the course for my life. And that's incredibly valuable, and I love and I miss him. But my oldest brother, like I said, we get along. We have nothing in common, but we get along very well. My others, not
so.
I wish them well.
I'm super tight with all of them, believe it or not.
That's great, though.
To take it all back to the beginning, we all went through a veritable hell together. And there's nothing quite like trauma to bond a family.
Mm-hmm.
Or split them apart. It can
right. Yeah.
You know what though? My father put it best. He said, "I don't really have a group of children. I have a street gang on my hands." Because we're all half Irish. Both of my parents are half Irish. I have a Polish last name, but we're mixed. We're half Irish, and we have that fist fighty go down with the ship, drunken, like, you
Yeah,
want to fuck with me, I'll fucking kill you. Like, we have that in us, and
funny.
it bonded us together, as disparate as our beliefs may be and what we're interested in. But it's not that far apart. My youngest brother, he likes hardcore and punk and Brit pop and a lot of pop punk that I don't give a shit about. And my brother Gavin, he's openly and beautifully gay, loves industrial music and a lot of electronica. My sisters, they're into the Misfits and Danzig, and
You're all like,
we're all alike. I started it. I am I'm the typhoid Mary, but you know what, we all kind of followed suit with one another, and we'd have our battles, but go ahead, mess with one of us. I had bullies in the neighborhood when I was 9-10 years old, and my sister, closest to me in age, would be right behind me, fists ablazing. She would get in fist fights with others for me, but when we were behind closed doors, she wouldn't get into fist fights with me because she was bigger than me.
Yeah, I was never close to my brother. He's 6 years older than me, and for whatever reason, we just never were close. But I did know that if somebody was picking on me, I mean, he might be doing it too, but if somebody else did it, like, all I would have to do is say, so-and-so made me cry, and he would go get them. But I don't know. That's as far as it goes, I guess.
Is that because he liked you or he liked violence, Tara?
I don't know what it would be like now. I think he might be one of the people throwing rocks at me. I don't know. I don't know, man.
Like so what? Yeah, I mean, who does? Who knows?
I don't know. I don't fit in anywhere. It's whatever.
Sure you do. You obviously fit in here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Who do you talk to the most in life?
You yahoos, probably.
Probably the two of us, right?
I talked to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it counts though, because she did pay me $300 to do this.
Seriously, Tara?
I bribe him.
I got babies, man. I got babies.
Ain't nobody like I have any money.
I had a couple podcasts pay me appearance fees recently. One I told them just donate to charity, because but another one did pay me, and I thought, man, I hope this trend doesn't continue because I can't afford to pay guests.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like you having to pay your friends, like pay people to hang out with you or something.
I don't know if it's like, I don't know why. I mean, the most recent one I could ask them, but they were the ones that, I mean, they were so nice, and they were in Ireland, and I just said, give the money to Brother Richard's, the homeless charity that the monks run. I said, just give the money to them. You don't have to pay me. But yeah, I didn't ask them like why, like why like you could probably get people to come on for free.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I understand. I guess I see the logic then, but it does also feel like paying people to be your friend.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were certainly nice about it. What was that spirit?
Yeah, I saw that. That was heavy. Well, what's going on?
What is this, bro? Right
oh,
here.
it's the Ghost of Dirk.
Oh my gosh, got the hamster.
Oh.
And the ghost of a critter.
Yes.
It's a mouse. Smells weird. He does not smell weird.
Oh, he smells like a rodent.
Actually, hamsters are very, they don't smell like anything. They don't have a stinky cage or anything.
No.
Except for a sand bath.
Kind of a perfect pet.
Except for a sand bath.
Well, yeah, he pees in his sand bath. This is what's interesting about hamsters. If you give them a sand bath, they'll like use it like a litter box. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I had them when I was a small child. I had hamsters. I also had hedgehogs.
Yeah, they're supposed to be good pets.
I wish we could have a hedgehog.
I mean, to be fair, if you gave me a sand bath, I'd use it as a litter box too.
As would I.
It's instinctual.
His brother Richard, is he? I've listened to an episode or two with him. He what's his tie to the Catholic Church specifically? Is there any?
He is a Capuchin
No
priest.
way.
He's a priest monk. He's both a priest and a monk.
Oh wow.
Franciscan and a wonderful human being and someone I consider very, very lucky to know, who's certainly been a literal blessing in my life the moment he entered it. And
How did you meet him?
He contacted me. He was listening to Strange Familiars, and he said, you know, he actually used to go out and do exorcisms and stuff. And he said, you know, if you want, I can come on and talk about some of this stuff. I said, yeah, absolutely. Not knowing anything else about it, not knowing how incredibly articulate and knowledgeable he was, you know, and just from the moment we started talking, I was like, wow, this guy's really incredible. And I absolutely love him. He's like, I can't speak highly enough of him.
He makes fantastic. You feel better. Like listening to him talk makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's certain key things he says that just strike home. And I know this is, you know, this is him relaying wisdom. This doesn't come from him. This is him, you know, relaying the wisdom of the tradition. But when he said the last time he was on, when he said, you know, any spiritual tradition that doesn't lead you towards more compassion is a false spiritual tradition. It was a truth bomb. I mean, it just hit my heart like a lightning bolt. And I was just like, that's it. Like that's absolute truth.
I think that's what's so disturbing to me with so many quote unquote Christians in this country right now. It's like they claim this, but yet their walk is not Christ-like at all.
No.
So to me, that's antichrist, you know? So that, I mean, that definitely rings true. You know?
Yeah.
I have a similar friendship, Tim. That's why I kind of brought it up. Monsignor Esif, he's Scranton Diocese. He was very close friends with Mother Teresa of Calcutta. He was in a motorcycle accident where he had third-degree burns over half of his body, and he was healed.
Wow.
And he's an exorcist. He has many books published. And he is the reason why I am no longer a heroin addict. He hugged me.
Just send him that link that you sent me the other
I will.
day. Look at that.
He hugged me and it was gone.
Wow.
Like it was gone, Tim. The demon left me. And this man, he's seen things that we couldn't possibly fathom. And when I first listened to one of your podcasts with Brother Richard, it was this, I got the same vibe. You know, and I wasn't looking at the man, I was in his presence, but I got that same general feeling of you know, paternal, almost Christ-like presence. And when you're in this man's presence, like I feel electricity almost through every cell of my being. And this man he's in his 80s and he's still an exorcist.
Wow.
He does these, what they call healing masses, once every month at my home church, the church I was baptized in and was an altar boy in. And he's really he's really close with my mother. That's how I met him. My mom's a Eucharistic minister in our church. And this man is still doing it. He's technically retired,
Mhm.
but he's still out there writing books, doing exorcisms, and traveling to India, doing God's work. This is an incredible human being, and I don't think it's an accident that people like this are in our lives.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't feel like an accident at all. It just feels like a blessing, and one that keeps on giving. I'm humbled by the fact that he's friends with me, but that fact that he will come on the show pretty much anytime I ask and knock it out of the park. Like, I don't know if he's everyone's favorite guest, but everyone I see whenever I do a show with him, like the comments are almost universally positive and extremely positive. But I do those shows.
He's so like pleasant to listen to.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, honestly, I do those shows for me. Like, I want to do those shows, and the fact that people like him is a bonus. But I would be doing those shows with Brother Richard, no matter what. So yeah, he's a incredible person.
It's funny
I follow
too.
him on Instagram too, and every time he will like one of my comments, it's like a rock star just liked my comment.
I've seen him on. He was on another podcast. It was like an Instagram live kind of show or something, and I happened to be. I watched him, and it was not like a paranormal thing at all. It was just it was more about like the pandemic, and I think it was he had a poem he wrote at the beginning of the pandemic that like was huge. Like
I knew that.
Yeah, he was on like I don't know, like CNN. They were reading this poem, and like all over the world this thing was. So I think it was relative to that, but they got into some political stuff, and this was kind of on the tail end of the BLM protests last year. And the host was black, and she asked him some difficult questions, and boy, I was like, wow, like he really just handled it like perfectly, and again with compassion and with the proper sense of delicacy, I guess, given the atmosphere with that. I was super impressed. I was like, wow, it's not just like the strange familiar stuff. He can talk politics or anything else, it seems like. But yeah, he did a fantastic job on that.
I think when you're walking that deeply in the light, though, you can't miss.
Yeah, he might humbly argue otherwise, but he's incredibly humble. He's incredibly humble. He always says, "Oh, Tim, you do such a great editing job. You make me sound so much better than I did." Very little editing with Brother Richard. I don't have to edit much at all.
Yeah, he's super pleasant to listen to. I don't know, it just feels like comforting to hear him talk.
Yeah,
because it should be like to me that's Christianity should make you feel comfortable, not like
I mean, and if like Francis was not, yes, he was like, he loved nature, and he was this sort of gentle soul and all that, but he also kind of through his actions, through his Christ-like actions, pointed out a lot of the problems in the church, and so Franciscans, while they are that sort of gentle and calm, but they're also open, and they're also in a way kind of rebellious in the sense. They've always been the sort of sect that's been like, well, no, we're gonna walk like Christ no matter what, what else happens or what else is said.
Whatever the Holy See sees to put upon us, we're going to walk in Christ, and that's it.
Yeah. They've always been that sort of the, as far as I understand it. I'm not a deep scholar on monks and stuff, but they've always seemed to be a little like aside from the Benedictines and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's basically them and the Jesuits, because the Jesuits not only run the educational wing of Catholicism, but they're, for the most part, they're the exorcists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they're the aside outside of the monks, they are the soldiers of Christ almost. And Scranton, we have a Jesuit, the main Jesuit school right here, and well, what few Jesuit priests we turn out in this day and age, they're all coming from on the East Coast. They're mostly coming from here, which is apropos because it is such a spiritually dark, oppressive place here.
Creepy.
Creepy.
What are you doing?
But what? I'm satisfying my nicotine addiction.
He's drinking blood.
No, I'm drinking
Oh, Tim.
cheap wine.
This is
It's cherry juice.
no, it is not. Allison got these like infused things you drop in water bottles, and it's like blueberry and something else. It's like just flavors the water basically, but it's all natural.
I have Zevia.
Oh,
Creamy root beer, whatever. Doesn't have sugar in it.
I guess I'm the rebel.
I will drink a hard cider like probably
box of wine.
Right on.
I'll drink a hard cider probably once a month, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. That's about as crazy as I get.
I haven't had alcohol since like 2006 or something.
Wow.
I just don't drink. I've never been drunk in my life.
To the X, you're crucified.
Never smoked, never drank. I'm boring.
What do you do?
Don't smoke, don't drink.
You and don't follow. I don't do anything. Literally nothing.
Goody two shoes.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
I'm choked to death. I'm the world's most boring person.
All these adamant alliterations are gonna kill me.
I won't even go in the woods. What are you talking about?
That's gonna be my life goal, to get Tara. She'll be 82 years old, and I'll get her to walk in the woods with me.
Aw. No, I won't. You're gonna come out here to the woods, right?
I would like to. I mean, my plan was to do some traveling, but then, Delta variant.
Yeah, now there's a new one.
I know.
But
Which
we're
one
all
is it?
back, whatever.
What is it? The Lambda variant now?
I don't know, something.
The Lambda variant.
Yeah, I just got to be careful with that stuff. So I don't know what to do. I was going to go to Ireland next year, and now I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the doctor today, and the doctor was telling me that she was going to Greece, and they're making her like jump through hoops to go. I mean, she's all vaxxed and everything. She even has her booster, but she's like, yeah, they're requiring a lot of, stuff to even let them go. She's like, I hope I get to go. I'm not even sure, but I don't know. I'm like one of these people like that wishes I could live out of a suitcase and just go places. But like realistically, I don't even go to new restaurants because I'm nervous about ordering off of a menu that I don't know. So what the fuck is
What do
wrong?
you do when I send you recipes? Are you there like, oh?
No. No, I'm not like that, but I don't know. I get stage fright or something. How did I become this? What is wrong with me?
Age does it to all of us.
I used to like not know what I was doing every single day and live in a van. And now I'm like, ugh, I'm scared to go through the drive-through because I don't know what's on the menu.
You couldn't pay me to get into a van and tour right now. You couldn't.
Yeah, I want to be the person though.
Touring sounds miserable.
It
right
is.
Now. I did it with Stone Breath, and I regret so much because, we would play every night of the week, and some nights there's like 10 people there to some stupid, club in Connecticut or something, there's 10 people there. And I look back now and like, I should have still done the tour, but played Friday and Saturday nights and used all the rest of the time to go hiking and see the damn country. Because I was all over the country and saw nothing but the inside of clubs and the ceiling above whatever couch I slept on that night. And I completely regret that aspect of it. I mean, yeah, it was cool to, I'm in a touring band and all, yeah, whatever, but I didn't see the country. I traveled the country, but I didn't see any of it.
Yeah. I liked meeting people. And I mean, I don't know. I liked it. I wish I still had that in me.
That's ultimately where I met you years and years and years ago.
Yeah, that's true. I met a lot of people.
Yeah.
I used to remember everybody's name and I could tell you what you were wearing and what we talked about. And of course, that's so many years ago now.
I was shocked you remembered my face. Like, I don't look like.
As soon as we got off with you, Mike's like, that guy looks familiar to me. I'm like, I know, me too. Like, I have a good memory. Like, sometimes, I can't remember names for nothing. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing.
Well, I was shattered drunk, and Pete Steele and I were like wrestling with each other the first time you ever met me. So that's memorable.
Hot.
my daughter says to me today, I think she was listening to like Lydia Lunch's podcast or something.
Oh yeah, that's a good one actually.
And she's like, the guy on her podcast has a Stone Breath shirt on. Who is this, Dad? And I was like, I don't know. She showed me the picture of him. I'm like, do not know. Like, I have no clue who that is. And then it goes down to the description and it said who it was. I was like, oh yeah, I know him. And I was like, I had just complete no recollection.
That's cool. It's weird when stuff like that happens.
See, but I think the both of you don't understand or fully accept how far-reaching the things that you've done, they touch people. Stone Breath touches people. Lycia touched people. They both still do. Once you put it out into the ether, it's there and it's indelible. It never goes away. Like, it's not like some shitty punk band that just, it's like everything I did basically is two fingers in the air, fuck you. And, I was in one band that was good and we barely had any output. With the exception of that, it's all just kind of, it didn't really strike. What you guys both have done, have created moods and things people can attach emotions to, and that's going to reverberate forever.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's the truth, and I love both of your outputs so much that I get to feel that way, and I get to say what I want about it. But I also know other people, and you both have proof of it, that other people have picked up on this, and it still has legs, still has a life.
So this was weird the other day. We took Dirk to karate. It's not Dirk. And we took Dirk to karate and we're standing there waiting to like check him in or whatever. And the girl that checks in the kid, she goes, I saw you on a podcast. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, it didn't even faze me. I'm like, oh, really? Which one? And people in line are like, looking like, what would she be doing on a podcast? You know? But I'm like, well, which one? And she's like, I don't know. It was some podcast with a girl with red hair. And I'm like, trying to think who this was and whatever. But it's just the randomest places where stuff like that happens sometimes. And you're like, I guess people maybe do have heard of me at some point somewhere, but just randomness.
Yeah.
And I figured out what she was talking about since, but just such a random thing out of context. And the dude that was in the line behind us is like, you can't just leave it at that. You need to tell us what the podcast was. I don't know. Google me. I don't know.
See, what the two of you do have is you get recognized for things that you personally have done. 9 times out of 10, someone recognizes me. They recognize me because I was friends with somebody who was awesome. It's the truth. I'm fine with it. I am absolutely fine with it. But that's normally like anyone recognizes me from anything. It was like, hey, yeah, you were with Agnostic Front in like 93 doing whatever, or, you know, Typo, or, you know, like I did zines and played in punk bands. So I had a lot of interesting friends.
Yeah, that's so funny because when we played Music PA, Agnostic Front was on the marquee.
Yeah, I set that show up too. I set up Agnostic Front and Lycia
Together.
I should have done it together. That would have been very heavy.
Just to see what the pit would be like.
The pit would have been awesome.
Yeah.
What's funny is I got influence in that club specifically because we practiced in the kitchen above it. So the guy who ran the club, Vince, and we got to be close. And I was doing street team stuff for Project, and Lycia was on tour, and I was like, all right, this is like basically my favorite band going at the time. Let's get them here. And it happened.
That's funny.
And I still feel bad because it's Music PA.
It was fine. It's actually a pretty good show.
It was a good show because there were a lot of wacky bands that my band was going to play it, but the other two guys in the band at the time were like, we're not playing with something like that. We're a serious power violence band.
It's power violence.
Power violence
Close to like non-powerful violence.
Power violence is an offshoot of hardcore that happened in the late 90s in Oxnard, California, and that specific region. It's a vocal style. It's cool, but it's just hardcore.
Didn't the dude from Amps for Christ didn't he have a power violence band too?
Yes, he did, and the name of which escapes me, but yes, he was in a power violence band.
Yeah.
Infest was the first power violence band. They coined the phrase. They started the movement. If you remember Infest, Tim.
I remember the name. I can see the logo.
Yeah. Or yeah, with the bars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top and bottom. And Spaz were a big power violence band too.
Oh man. I want to be in a like wussy violence.
I want to be in a flower violence band.
Dirk, what are you doing?
I see.
So speaking of I told you this before, Tim, I think, but he used to see shadow people in his room. And also, when he was little and sick one time, he says he saw these light beings in his room.
Now that's different. The light beings.
Yeah, I assumed they were his angel.
Uh-huh.
Was there more than one, Dirk?
There was taking not singing, but standing in a circle around me.
And
Like they're so bright, they're like yellowish.
How many?
How old were
Like 2.
you?
No, not even. I was more like 1.
You were 1.
It was like tiny.
Do you remember how many of them there were?
I think around 12.
12.
Wow.
A whole bunch standing in a circle around me.
He remembers things from when he was very little.
Like back when my crib was like sort of in the middle of my room. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I was really little.
Yeah. Was it that time you were really sick?
I think so.
Did you have a fever, Dirk?
I think I felt kind of sick.
He used to get sick all the time as a baby because he was in daycare from like 10 weeks old.
Oh, yeah.
Taking him to the doctor like sometimes 2 and 3 times a month.
Yeah, we
A lot.
our kids didn't go to school till first grade really. Kindergarten a little bit, but the first graders they were pretty much sick for the first 3 or 4 years of elementary school because we had kept them away because they were preemies. We had kept them pretty much away from that, kept them pretty healthy and away from colds and stuff. But once they went to school, we were just sick for years.
He got that all out of his system because
Especially once I got my tonsils.
yeah, especially once he got his tonsils out because he used to get strep throat all the time and stuff. And then once he got his tonsils out, he's only been sick like once since.
Twice maybe.
Maybe twice.
No, at least twice, because remember back before COVID when it was like we had COVID.
Yeah, I think we had
and when I
COVID
got
before
that cold a few weeks ago.
But anyway, he's been good. Built up that immune system as an infant.
But so when are they going to put the tonsils back in? You kept them, right? They gave them to you? And then they're going to put them back in when you're 18, right? I mean, that.
He's laughing. You know they can grow back. That's true. I didn't know that.
So can his tail. You know about the tail, right, Dirk?
He's like, don't act like my dad hasn't already tried that one on me.
Especially, what was that kid named Jimmy in our attic? The so-called kid, my so-called brother.
Mike tells him all the time that there's this kid named Jimmy he was our first son. He was really bad, so we put him there.
Apparently, he lives in our attic and only comes out at night. So one time, Dad said you feed him dog food at nighttime.
As you do.
Well, duh. He only gets dog food.
Not like an apple or something.
Maybe he's got your tonsils.
Ooh.
Maybe he ate them.
Delicacy. Dork.
Try eating that cotton candy looking stuff up there.
With the insulation. Oh.
Insulation?
Oh.
Oh, Dirk.
That'd be painful.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
It's only fiberglass.
That's what's a little fiberglass among friends, really.
Good for you. Put hair on your chest. Do people still say that?
Yes, I still say that to my son about the crust on bread.
Wait, what?
It'll put hair on your chest. I remember one time I was like probably 5 and I went to stay at my friend's house. Ironically enough, because my brother had to go into the hospital to have his tonsils removed. And
because they were bleeding.
Yeah.
And they were bleeding into his throat and he couldn't like breathe or whatever.
This is such a stupid.
We say that casually, like nothing, like whatever.
Randomness. But yeah, so he had his tonsils removed and in the middle of the night he hemorrhaged. So my parents had to rush him to the hospital and they dropped me off at my friend's house in the middle of the night. So the following day we're eating dinner and they had made this like venison chili or something. And I wouldn't eat it. And he's like, come on, it'll put hair on your chest. And I'm like, now I'm really not eating it. What are you talking about? Anyway.
Venison chili sounds like the greatest thing of all time right now.
I feel like, yeah, probably. I don't know. I made chili the other day, and it's still like we have this gigantic bowl of it.
I'll be right over.
It's
I
got
can eat
Anytime I-
chili.
I make chili all the time, but there's obviously no animal in it.
Yeah, ours doesn't either. Dirk, you're ripping my hair out of my head.
Mine has the most animals in it.
The chili sauce is probably like animal blood or something.
God.
You know, Dirk, when growing up as a Polish person, we used to have soup that was comprised of mostly duck's blood. It's called chanina.
It's gross. It sounds nasty.
It's not. Believe it or not, it's not. It's actually very tasty. It's red beets and duck's blood and duck meat.
The bonus is that there were absolutely 0 duck vampires in the area because he used all the duck blood for the soup.
Yeah. So we slayed all the duck vampires at that point.
They just starved to death. All the duck blood was being used in your soup.
What are you doing? You're ripping my hair out.
I'm chewing on your arm. What else would I be doing?
As you do.
As you should.
Did you guys watch that? What's that show called we just watched tonight? What If? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Have you been watching What If?
I am a
Yeah.
nerd, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course. I've been watching What If.
Did you
Yeah.
watch the new one with the zombies?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just watched that tonight.
It was cool. I like the last 3 better than the first. The first 2, I was kind of like, okay, I guess. And the last 3 been real good.
Well, the zombie one there, I'm familiar with the comic book basis of it. So that's how much of a nerd I am, guys. Not as nerdy as anything that was penned by Neil Gaiman, but
Yeah, I'm lost on all of that. I'm not like really. I don't know much about Marvel.
well, Neil Gaiman or Gaiman, however you want to pronounce it, he's DC Vertigo. But-
Yeah, I know, but I don't know stuff either.
I'm gonna actually you here and say he has written for Marvel.
Yes, he has, and you're absolutely right.
actually-
But
Yeah.
but Sandman and Hellblazer and Swamp Thing were all DC, and they were the height of his powers.
So did you guys watch that Swamp Thing show?
Yes. Big
I did
fan.
not, but I love Swamp Thing, so I should, but I just haven't thought it out.
Yeah, you'll like it though.
If it
It's-
doesn't like land in my lap, you know.
It surpasses the 2 films by
Well, yeah,
20.
it's so good. I'm
Mhm.
so bummed out that they canceled it.
They canceled almost everything with the exception of that show with the Doom Patrol.
Yeah, Titans is still on too.
Yeah, but Titans is kind of
I love it.
it's not as good as Doom Patrol.
You know what threw me off about Doom Patrol? That episode where they took a drug or something.
Mhm.
They went into they went into that donkey.
Yeah.
Talking about
Yep.
and I was half asleep watching it, so it threw me off because I couldn't follow it because I was half asleep. And we can't really watch that one with Dirk,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we don't watch it. But we can watch Titans and Stargirl and Swamp Thing and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Doom Patrol is a little
It's
Well-
raw.
much, a little too much.
I started watching that and then I fell asleep on it.
Yeah, it's kind of slow. I feel like
What is?
Doom Patrol. You didn't watch it. You're not allowed.
You know what that means, Dirk?
Someday he'll have fun watching it.
Yeah, he'll seek it out in about 5 years.
Die.
All right, you guys. How long have we been talking?
I'm not entirely sure.
4 hours and I don't know. I'm just making numbers.
18 hours.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but
7,684 hours.
Dork. What did you want me to ask him?
I don't know.
He gets shy. He tells me to tell you stuff and then he gets shy.
I gotta work on a farm tomorrow. I'm not digging potatoes though. I'm putting my shovel down. No more potatoes.
Don't dig potatoes. Also, stop planting them.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm like, all day last Saturday, I'm digging potatoes, and then at some point I realized I could go to the store and buy a bag of these for $2. What am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yes, they're organic. Yes, we grow them ourselves. Yeah, whatever, hurrah! But they don't taste that much better than the potatoes from the store. It's not like, you know, a tomato you grow yourself. Yeah, that's worth the effort. Potatoes, I'm rebelling. I'm
That's how I can tell you don't have much Irish in you.
Yeah, you know, we tried to have some plants here, and like, first of all, trying to grow anything here is just stupid. But we had like tomato plants and stuff, and like peppers, and I think cucumbers.
Yeah.
And like we put all this work into it, and then you get like a handful, and you eat them, and then you're like, okay, well that was cool. After I just put in, it's not like in Ohio where you can just like throw stuff on the ground and it like grows and it's like magic and it just keeps giving you vegetables the whole. It's like, okay, you picked them off and now they're done. So I just like wasted all this money, all this energy
To get 4 tomatoes.
to get like a snack.
Right. Well, I got poison ivy, so I'm extra bitter. I usually don't get poison ivy at all, but the roots have more of the oils on them than the leaves.
Yeah.
And when I was digging potatoes and got into the poison ivy roots, and I got all over my arms, and I'm bitter.
Did you put gasoline on it?
No.
Light them up.
You think I'm joking, but I'm not susceptible to poison ivy, but I've had it once, and I put gasoline on the exposed areas, and it was gone within 3 days.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and not use that cure.
I told him to take a hairbrush to it. Just scratch the skin off.
Well, I also grew up as a hillbilly, so
How gross it is. There's my gross.
It's not even that bad.
I usually get, whenever, like, if I hike a ton and I'll get into poison sometimes, I'll get 3 little dots, and that's all. But I guess, like I said, because it was the roots I was messing with, it got me good. Really annoying.
I know the best way to help a cut on your arm.
How?
Pour rubbing alcohol on it.
Yeah, that feels great.
Yeah, it is exceptional.
It's amazing.
Well, it'll stop it from itching.
Be
Or-
painful.
Or feeling anything remotely livable.
I like that feeling.
At that point, I would just
I
slice
weirdly
my
like
arm.
that feeling. Like, I don't know.
It's
I like-
satisfying. It's satisfying. I understand that.
Don't mind me taking 4 steps away from you.
It's like I was telling you, I like pouring peppermint oil directly onto my skin. Sadist. Is that a sadist or is it a masochist? I don't even know.
That would be masochism.
One or the other.
Sadism is when you want to do it to someone else.
Well, I want to do that too.
So you're a sadomasochist.
Just with peppermint oil.
Sadism is when you listen to Morrissey.
Hey, now. I do celebrate the man's entire catalog, Tim.
Aww.
I figured out how to sound just like a clock.
Congratulations. When
Kind
have
of
you
like
ever
Morrissey.
Your clock is broken. It's
when have you ever seen a clock that does that? For real.
You know that watch that I got a while ago at Walmart?
Yeah. It makes ticking sounds? Okay.
When I put my ear up to it, sound.
I'm like, everything's digital. Where are you hearing clocks that make noises?
Watch this movie does that.
there's that one hallway, Mom, that's the gray man lives there, and it's covered with spider webs and
Ew. Where Jimmy lives.
yeah,
Jimmy.
Jimmy is the gray man.
Ugh.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, tell us more. Tell us more.
Tell them about the shadow people.
Heck no.
Oh, Dirk, I grew up around seeing shadow people as well, so I'm actually I'd really like to know what you've seen.
Are you ever just going to the bathroom in the night, then in the corner of your eye, you just see somebody
Yeah, pretty much exactly. Yes.
like, what just happened?
Were they dabbing?
No, just
Yeah, when you see them peripherally, you see them in the corner of your eye. Normally, that's when they're most
really see it.
obvious. Is there any time of night where you see them the most, Dirk?
No,
No, just whenever.
just randomly.
Yeah.
They just run by and just like,
Yeah, but that hasn't been for a long time, right?
I don't know.
Mm.
No, sometimes it just happens. I think it's a trick your eyes playing on you.
Yeah, it is. 99% of the time. It's
Mhm.
just eyeballs playing tricks on
No,
us.
12% of the time.
Today when I was driving to pick up dinner, I kept seeing this flashing light out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. No, it was light actually reflecting off my glasses. But it freaked me out because it was like, flashing, and I've back before I had to get glasses, I was getting that flashing out. It's like your retina's detaching.
Yeah.
So I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, is my eyes doing it again? But it was just a reflection on my glasses. So that's probably just what you're seeing,
Definitely.
Hopefully.
Our house is not haunted.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
That's what everyone says who has a haunted house.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I feel like if our house was haunted, it would be more obvious. Although I did hear something banging on your wall in your bedroom the other night.
Wait, how old are you, Dirk?
Not 10.
10? Okay. I think out of your parents and yourself, you would know better than anyone if that house were haunted, and it's not, is it?
Maybe, I don't know.
It's
Maybe
not.
you don't know.
You would know.
Probably not.
You would know, buddy.
It went away when I was 2.
Don't pay attention to them anymore.
Maybe they're just like, okay, I'll just sit in my corner and that's it.
Dirk, who's your favorite band? I want to know.
I don't know.
No, for
You don't-
real.
I don't know.
You don't have any clue?
No,
No favorite type of music?
I don't know.
What's going on here? He used to like Soft Kill.
No kidding. I love Soft Kill.
Well, it was cool because we got to go see him, and that was his first concert. And they gave him like a shout out from stage, and they gave him like a whole bunch of records. And
Oh wow.
yeah, it was pretty cool actually. They're really nice. They're nice.
Their last album was incredible, actually. The one that just came out.
Yeah.
What's funny is,
Oh yeah.
what's funny is a while ago, a new bug guy came out here, and when he walked in, he was all like looking around, like, what's going on here? And then there's this like thing on the, I don't know how to explain it. You know that?
Yeah.
How do you explain it?
We have this, I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like a dream catcher, but it's not a dream catcher, but it's a triangle with a heart, with an eye in the middle, and all this fringe kind of lace hanging down.
And it's funny as well, he's looking around, it hit him in the face. He just freaked out.
We always wonder what people think when they walk into our house because it looks weird.
What's funny is most people, this would be weird, but it's just normal for me.
And so when we got a new bug guy, came out like last month or whatever, and it was this like little old man, and he walks in the house and he's like looking around like this.
Like, are these people trying to worship the devil or something?
And then he walked face first into this dream catcher thing, and he was just like freaking out. But it's every time someone comes into our house, like when Amanda and Sage were here, our air conditioner broke, if you remember. And so we had to have this AC guy come out in the middle of the night, and he's just like looking around the house. But
mind your own business. We'll give you extra money if you don't mention anything.
No, but it is funny. I always or like when his friends from school come over, I'm always like, I wonder what they think.
I think it's cool.
Like, who are these creepy people?
Yeah, I've got skulls everywhere.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
true. You've got skulls all over your house.
Skulls?
Real skulls, Dirk. Yeah.
You know what though, guys? It's not like when we were kids. It really isn't. Children are not nearly as thrown by the things that would have affected us.
I don't
Like-
think they were even when we were little. I think it was.
It's the adults.
Yeah.
Well, it's the indoctrination, whatever fears and prejudices your parents pushed upon you. That's what came out.
I remember I couldn't get a job because I had long hair,
Mm-hmm.
and now to go to Walmart and you see kids with piercings and green hair operating the rest, and I'm not complaining. That's great.
No.
You know, this is good. But
It was the same thing. Yeah. I had to take my nose ring out for like a $4 job.
yeah.
When I got hired, this was 1996. Mike and I had to go get jobs in a factory because we weren't touring. And I had pink and black hair at the time, which was fine as a temp. But when they were going to hire me, they were like, you can't have pink hair to work third shift in a factory.
Right. Yeah.
I had to dye my hair. So I dyed it jet black. How was that any more real than the pink?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. There's
Definitely.
do you have that bookstore BAM there, that chain?
Mm-mm.
Books A Million?
No, that's I think that's just us, Tim.
Okay. I got a job there temporarily, like stocking the shelves when they moved in. And I knew it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. I knew I wasn't going to be there forever. But at some point they came up to me and they're like, we have a problem. And I'm like, what's the problem? I said, well, your hair and your beard. I'm like, what? And they're like, you have to cut your hair and you have to shave your beard. And I said, no, I don't. And they said, well, no, you have to. And I said, no, I don't. And this is one of the managers, and she's like, well, no, you have to. It's our policy. And I was like, well, no, I'm not going to. And she said, and the other employees are standing around there like with their mouths hanging open, like they've never seen anybody talk to a manager like this. And I was just like, and she's like, well, why can't you? I said, religion. And she says, what religion are you? And I just looked her dead in the eyes and I said, wizard.
Hey, you can't dispute that.
And she just turned on her heels, like turned on her heels and like walked away. And all these other employees were like, how do you, like, what are you doing? Why? I'm like, this is a minimum wage job. Like, they need us. We do not need them.
And how ridiculous anyway.
Yeah.
And this wasn't that long ago, right?
Oh, no, this wasn't long ago at all. Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell?
Whenever Borders, like, the BAM business strategy is just to move into where old Border stores were.
That's all it was. That's
Yeah.
all it was.
Yeah. So whenever Borders closed, it was like whatever right after that, you know.
How ridiculous.
However many years ago that was.
And
yeah,
the thing, and BAM wasn't anywhere near as cool as Borders.
Oh, no way. No way. They're supposedly a Christian company, but they have
Hey,
it's
Jesus, a beard.
outrageous. They have Buddhism and Islam are in the mythology section, not the religion section.
Jesus Christ.
They have them in the mythology section, but yet they sell porn.
Uh-huh.
Where's the logic in this?
Yeah, completely hypocritical company, you know.
And they have no jazz section with the music.
What the?
How do you not have a jazz?
In a bookstore, like the two sort of go hand in hand, don't they?
Lily's waving hi.
Hi.
I suppose we should get off of here.
I want to see her do a trick.
Does a backflip.
I just imagine him just throwing. Watch, she does a flip.
She's legit the least athletic dog I think I've ever been
Wait,
around.
well, aim your camera on the ground so I can show her do something.
No, I've not.
Sit.
She will sit, but that's about the extent of it.
Sit.
If you threw a piece of steak at her, it would smack her in the face. Like she just
sit.
Messed up.
What is she doing?
Aw, she's cute.
She's oh my gosh.
There she goes.
Oh
That's her trick. Stop.
Fine, I'll give you a piece of bacon.
That's a good trick. Well, Tara, someday we will get to the second half of.
Yeah. We kind of. I mean, it's heavy though. You can only go heavy.
You can only deal with it for so long. I totally agree. It is kind of a drag.
Well, not that it's a drag, but you know.
It's a drag.
What are you doing, Tim? What's that face?
I was looking at your son over your shoulder.
I know to do that face.
What were you doing?
And that is why he is the cover of Casa Luna right there.
Yeah. Cover model. So his friends at school think he's lying when he says he's his parents are in a band. Like what?
And when I showed him that sticker I have on my water bottle, you know, the one that's like, I don't know, it was me and like
Casa Luna,
whatever.
Yeah.
I said that's me, and everyone's like, no, it's not. You bought that at the store, and I'm like, it's me. Or like denying it, like, no, it is not. I'm like, yes, it is.
Well, So here's a funny story. So, you know, we're really good friends with the band Audra, Brett and Bart, and Brett's wife, Sarah. And when I found out who Dirk's teacher was this year, because I am who I am, I Google searched her name. And then I looked her up on Facebook, and I'm like, I have one mutual friend, and it's Brett's wife. So I write Sarah, and I'm like, hey, do you know so-and-so? And she's like, yeah, that's Brett's niece. So his teacher is one of our best friend's niece. It like is so weirdly random. So she could vouch for you that your parents are in a band.
I should.
And your parents are in a band that I've been listening to since I was 15.
Oh.
And I'm 45.
Crazy.
Making your parents old.
Well, mostly your dad.
Mike's ears are burning in the other room.
Listen, men as we get older, it's not as there's not as much of a stigma attached. We all
Dirk won the staring contest.
Did he though?
He did. I had to blink.
Dirk, you're so intense, man. Look at you.
I can't do it. He wins.
I
don't know if it's allergies or what. My eyes start burning.
I looked away.
You won. I blinked before you looked away.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh my God.
All right.
He's gonna Rochambeau you. Here it comes.
Ready? Wait, you don't. You got to say rock, paper, scissors,
Oh my
and
God.
then go.
Never mind, you win.
He's a cheater.
You know, I have never won a game of rock, paper, scissors against Allison.
For real?
100%.
You must have tell.
Can I tell you my little secret? Always use rock because everybody chooses scissors like first. I don't know why.
See, now
That kind of is true.
I see. Allison told me that men always choose rock.
Yeah, paper covers rock.
That said, once she told me that, I never chose rock again, and she still beats me every time.
That's because she was psyching you out, Tim.
Yeah, that was her trying to like fix the game.
Back how we used to play in preschool, rock went on top of paper and it just destroyed scissors. So I used to just always choose rock and I won every time.
Because you guys played it wrong.
Like we played it where rock destroys paper and it destroys scissors.
So nothing.
And none of the other kids figured it out. And I won every single time for
Dummies.
like 4 years.
So in other words, you cheated.
With my kids, we would do rock, paper, scissors, and then I would throw in atom bomb.
Okay, can I tell you another good one? Rock, paper, scissors.
Hey, a rock could beat that. Technically.
It could.
Yeah.
You could smash a gun with a rock.
Unless the gun shot the rock.
I mean, if you're fast enough with scissors, you know.
Yeah, true. Go for the aorta.
You know what beats all?
What is happening?
I actually don't.
Dirk just won the game of podcast right there. That's what that was.
I wonder if anyone would hang on this long.
No.
If they do, they understand us, and that's rare.
What is happening?
Dirk, you win. You're done. I'm done. You win.
Oh man.
What's Dirk's middle name?
Ulrich.
I knew that. I just
Dirk
couldn't remember.
Ulrich van der Portvliet. He's a Viking.
You know, funnily enough, that's why Pete Steele and I got along so well, because we were both Polacks named Pete and our middle names were Thomas.
I know. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Pete. That's funny.
That was our tie that bound. He had other reasons why, but there's a young man in the room, and I won't say it, and there's no credence to it, but it was his reason.
So do you get to many antique stores up there in that area?
Yeah.
I am looking. I'm going to task you with something.
Okay.
I am looking for a photo of a hermit from the 1800s. So would have been a cabinet card photo. He was known as the Hermit of Music Mountain.
That's where I'm from, dude. Avoca Music. They're neighbors.
I know for a fact that a photo of him exists because there's a newspaper article that says he went to town. I forget which town up there, but he went to get his photo taken. And so I collect photos of hermits, and I've been trying to find this guy because I don't have many from Pennsylvania. I have a few, but this guy has an incredible story. I think he ended up going blind. I'm trying to remember his specific story, but anyway, there's definitely a cabinet card photo of him. They have one in the historical society. One of the historical societies up there has a story about him, and they have a photo there, but I cannot get them to tell me whether it's the correct photo of this guy or not. It's still like a guy who looks pretty rough, looks like a mountain man or something. And I said, is that the actual photo of him? And they said, oh, we'll have to check on that. And they never got back to me. But I know a photo of him exists, and it would have been a local photographer, and it would be a cabinet card photo from the 1800s. So if you're in an antique store and you ever see a hermit, contact me, because I will PayPal you the money.
No, I will certainly get on top of that, especially since my family were involved with people of that ilk. One of which was my grandfather's best friend Lemmy, who was a hermit who lived on the outskirts of Rocky Glen Park in Music, Pennsylvania. he was my grandfather's best friend, and a lem was their pre-World War II. They had what were called CCC camps.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And lems were the older kids who were in charge of the younger kids who would come in to do work in the CCC camps.
Oh, okay.
Lemmy, his name was Bill Radzvich, if I'm not mistaken. He was my grandfather's lem. And that's where he picked up his name from. I have his Colt Woodsman 22 pistol, which is the first semi-automatic pistol ever made by Colt, in my closet right here. And that whole group knew one another, all the mountain men from the Music Avoca area.
That's cool.
They were intertwined, so I can certainly find out.
That's awesome. I like his work with Motorhead too.
Stupid.
And don't forget the Joker.
Oh my god.
Incidentally, the Lemmy documentary is coming out very soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Killing Joke one yet?
Yeah. Oh, I own it. And Mike and I Mike and I talked about that, and he was butthurt because he paid the money for it and had to wait way too long for it, which does not apex the fact that I paid $790 some for the Killing Joke complete recordings box set on vinyl, and I never got it.
Oh my god.
I got my money back eventually, but they I forget the name of the company that did the crowdsourcing for it, but they went out of business because of that and an L7 box set. It was Killing Joke and L7. The product was live for over a year. Everybody paid their money. We're all waiting for it. Like, where's my Killing Joke? Never happened.
Put out a new record. I just saw them post today. They put Killing Joke out on vinyl. Just came out, I think, today.
Really?
Yeah.
They
Not
need
the
to...
first Killing Joke, the second Killing Joke. Why would they have two records with the same name?
They have 3 records with the same name.
But the second one was What's This For?
What's This For is the second one.
Yeah.
But
Two
they
records
have
with the same name. Killing Joke with the name Killing Joke.
They have 3 with the same name. And one came out, it was self-titled, and Dave Grohl played drums on it.
I think that might be the one that
came out in the early 2000s.
2013, I think.
I think that's the only one I don't own.
Well,
yeah, well, that's for a reason, Tim. I mean, there's 3 good songs on it, but there's early Killing Joke that's amazing, and there's new Killing Joke, which is amazing, and there's a lot of spotty stuff in the middle. But like from like the last 4 albums were flawless in my opinion.
Yeah, I hope they go on tour and come to Phoenix. That is a show I would actually go to.
Every time I've seen them, they were incredible. Even on questionable albums, I've seen them on tour, and they were always amazing.
That's what everybody says.
Well, jazz commands a certain spiritual force that few people can harness, in my opinion. Neurosis and Killing Joke, they have a command of something that few others can do.
I saw Swans in the Great Annihilator tour.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely good.
Well, I don't even consider them a band. That's like a Stormfront.
Yeah, they're kind of my epitome of what a band is, I think.
Mom, let's have staring contest. See who wins.
Let's not.
Please.
No.
You already won, dude.
You won't beat me. I can tell you that right
Okay,
now.
let's.
Death stare. Anyway. I would not give you the death stare.
Excuse me. Wow. Is that all meat chili?
That's what it is. What I find really, really interesting is the fact that your son has no idea what command you actually had on stage in front of people.
Oh, no.
He has no idea. He has no idea.
Me either.
Well,
True.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
who looks at their mother and says, okay, when she was on stage, human beings would just be like slain by it?
That's not true, though.
According to whom?
My perspective on the stage.
How funny would she
Yeah, but that's your perspective. You were not, you weren't on the other side of it with everyone else. It was just you. Now you're someone's mother. It's a whole different story.
He's unimpressed, let me tell you. What are you doing? What is that? What is that?
I don't know.
Slime ball?
It's not the first time I've been called a slime ball, just so you know.
Oh. Hey, look. There, look. Does that actually light up? Aw,
That's kind of cool.
It does, and then when you put the cow on,
Oh, wow.
Cool.
that's
put
cute.
the cow on, it says moo.
What the hell?
It abducts the cow.
You could throw it.
What?
You could throw it out your window to see if it actually flies.
Yeah, so see. Hold on.
So
The magnet's
Tim-
on the top of the cow. It won't
Why
stand
am
up.
I not surprised Tim has that right now?
right?
Someone sent it to me. I don't buy toys like that.
Oh, that's cute.
That's awesome.
Hey, so if you come out here, are you gonna want to go up there, to that place?
I need more details. Out here, up there, that place.
Area something with a number?
Oh, that place where that guy was abducted by I can't think of his name.
But
Travis Walton.
Yeah.
why do they always assume aliens want to abduct cows?
Because
Why?
They didn't
find them.
abduct them.
They find them mutilated, and they can't tell.
There's a reason why.
They can't tell.
How do they know that it was aliens?
Because it happens in farmers. It'll happen in a very short period of time. Like farmers will see their cow and they'll go down the field and they'll come back, and then this thing will be eviscerated with
So
all the
there's
blood
no-
drawn in like 20 minutes.
It could have grew wings and flew away.
I mean,
Figured it out.
yeah.
It grew wings and flew away. Duh.
No, yeah, but they come back mutilated, bro.
Bro.
Then no, it flew through somebody's window, then flew back.
No. Stop it.
Tim, when we hook up again, if we hook up again, have you ever heard of the Suskin Screamer by any chance?
Yeah, I think so.
That's my area.
Yeah, I'm
someday when we have
You guys can
time
go
for it again.
I did a paranormal conference up there,
Yeah,
and there was some local to you Bigfoot guys that did a presentation there. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they were talking about it, I think.
yeah, that would have been it for certain.
And I had a really cool story from a guy from up there on the podcast. It was actually his dad's story that he was telling, and he said his father and his father's friend were out. They were drinking. They were on like a double date, and they were just having a beer outside the car. And they said they could hear something coming down the road, and it's this big thing like coming down the road. And they're like, it scared them enough where they got in the car, and they said this thing lifted up the back end of the car. And he's telling me the story, and I'm like, oh, this is a Bigfoot story. Like, and then the guy says, and my dad said he looks in the rearview mirror, in the side mirror. The only thing he sees is red flannel.
Yeah.
That gave me a mini heart attack. I don't even know what it is, but it scared me.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't even.
It's a cool
Kind of
story.
like the shirt I'm wearing right now.
Yeah. Flannel man / Bigfoot.
Yeah.
A Bigfoot who stole a flannel shirt.
Maybe he was cold.
There are stories of that. There's stories of people who come upon them and they're wearing like ripped up clothes and stuff. Weird
Yeah.
stuff.
Maybe a Bigfoot robbed a store to get a shirt because he was cold.
Maybe. Or took it off somebody's clothesline. They got their clothes hanging out. He walks by, he's like, oh, I like that shirt.
Mine.
Or maybe it's the Wendigo.
And
Why did it give me a heart attack even though I didn't even know what was going on?
I know for a fact that Bigfoot takes my underwear.
Or it's your creepy neighbor.
I hang it on the line and then it's gone and it comes back and there's a bunch of hair in it.
Is it still yellow in the front and brown in the back? Question.
It wasn't before. I blame that on Bigfoot.
Skunk ape.
Skunk ape.
Wait,
The skunk ape, it raped my wife.
If it was a skunk ape, why wasn't it green in the back?
Because the skunk ape is not herbivorous. He's a carnivore.
What was that? What was that? Is that Lily?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what is happening? She just made the weirdest noise. Anyway.
This is now her podcast.
It stopped being yours a long time ago, Tara.
Somebody's.
How seriously? This is 1:20. I gotta go pretend to be a farmer tomorrow.
Just stay away from the potatoes.
I intend to.
Or you could
Lily's growling at us.
I'm scared. Is she gonna rip off my toes?
Yes.
Hopefully. Oh my god, you're a spaz.
I only drank 4 Coca-Colas.
Oh my god.
No, I only drank 1.5.
No, we didn't. All right, stop. Get off me.
No.
Get off me, bro.
No. Never.
For reals, we should probably get off of here.
Yeah.
I can get my gaming chair.
I can get my gaming chair.
Well, I'm gonna get a bedroll then.
Go get your sleeping bag.
I'm gonna go build a lean-to.
Go get your lean-to. Grizzly Adams. That's all I think about when I hear lean-to. Anyway, all right, this has been real.
Yeah, it's
It
been
has not
really
been fake at all.
no.
God. No editing. All right.
My camera's 6.5 feet up. I have to stand on my tippy toes.
Ugh. All right, guys.
Alrighty.
It's
Yes.
been very fun.
Yes, it has.
Like 14 o'clock.
Tim's like, why did I agree to this? All right.
Alrighty.
It's been real, man.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So send me any links that you want me to put in here, and then I'll put them in here. And
All right. Sounds
all
good.
Okay, now let's start recording.
Now let's get into the real stuff.
Okay. Yeah, now let's start the podcast.
now that we've goofed off this whole time, hey guys, I will chat with y'all later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Have a good night.
You
Bye,
Night,
Dirk.
guys.
Have fun farming.
Have a good night, Dirk.
Good night, Dirk.
God. Bye.
The hard part
Bye.
is keeping your face.
Always the hard part. Bye.